Oh, Lord, I'm messing it up. Y'all, hold on. Hold on. Y'all quit looking. Quit looking.
Welcome to the Bass and Brews podcast, your weekly distraction from other high-quality podcasts. And now, your host, Alex from Swamp Rat Fishing, and the co-hostess with the mostest, the Jabberhammer, Paul Roberts.
Hey-oh, I done messed up the intro to the damn thing already. Think this is my first night doing that. Welcome to Bass and Brews Fishing. Alex, yet again, is not with us. So you have to listen to me run my mouth the whole night, along with these other two guys who I'll introduce here shortly. But we are your weekly distraction from high-quality podcast content. We aim to disappoint. And here we are. We're looking to do it, but it's going to be hard to disappoint tonight, at least for our guest. The guest co-host and myself, we're probably definitely going to disappoint, but our guest won't. Tonight, we have guest co-host Mr. Nate Chagnon. What's up, dude?
What's up? Good to be back.
Yeah, this is what your fourth time, right? You've been on 2 episodes and popped in one of our bigger ones, I think, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I know I've been on like 5 with you between Hoodlum Cast and
Look, the only ones that count are the ones we remember, so I have been on none with you.
I disagree. My first one here was a good one. I don't think me and Alex remember much towards the end of that podcast.
Yeah, that's the night you and him polished off of a fifth of bourbon. Not together either, individually. Whiskey. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Our guest tonight is the New England Hammer. I tried to come up with another name than Hammer because y'all know I hate that word's overused, but I mean it's the damn truth. But we got Mr. Derek Brundle. Derek, what's going on, buddy?
What is going on? I'll tell you what, I'm feeling a little kind of undergunned in the facial area. Like I think maybe I should have gone and got like a fake beard or something to put on, you know what I'm saying? So I could have kind of filled in the manliness of this, panel we got up here.
Hey, all you had to do was go holler at Sean the Fisherman because he had a beard on a couple of weeks ago in that tournament. I kept getting all these damn posts from him doing the y'all.
I saw those.
Yeah. He needs to work on his drawl. He's too high pitched. He was talking too fucking fast, and his drawl was he didn't carry out his vowels enough.
Yeah, you gotta go all the way if you're gonna commit. You gotta really commit and go all the way and practice and just hone your craft.
He tried. Look, it's hard to imitate somebody as handsome and as awesome as I am, and he did his best.
Yep. Yeah, but he fell short.
Are you talking from experience from when you acted as the snowman in that tournament that time?
Who, me?
Wasn't that what you dressed up
as?
Yeah,
I was a polar bear, man. That was a so funny and not so funny story. My sister was sick with cancer, who eventually passed away, unfortunately. But we all used to dress up in our pajamas and go over and hang at the house. And you know what? I don't know where the hell I got that costume from. Hey, hon, where did I get the polar bear costume from? From where? Oh my God! Right. So my wife's mother got me this thing, like, and was serious, like, hey, in case you're cold, you can now be like a polar bear, and it had this big ass head on it with little fluffy ears, and it had like a sewn on scarf, and it was like way too tight, like in the area, if you know what I'm saying.
And you stand up and fish on the new canoe all the time too.
I did, and that was during, I want to say, it was a Halloween tournament, where everybody is dressed up, and of course I show up and it's cold out, right? So I don't have much for like clothes on underneath it. And I mean, it was snow on the ground. It was like the frost wind that you see when it's real cold, like when you're fishing on the Bering Sea out there. You get that steamy, icy. Oh man, I stuck it out. I stuck it out for about 3 hours, and then the sun finally came out, and I got warm. But yeah, it looked like this big dumbass polar bear going around on a kayak out in the middle of nowhere on a. Yeah, it was ugly, but yeah.
That,
So my mother-in-law got me this thing, thinking it was kind of cool, and yeah, I don't know.
so,
Did we throw it away? Yeah, we threw that thing away.
so, so it was like a real life Christmas story episode where
It might
you
even
got
have been a real life Christmas present.
that's what I'm saying. That was when you had the cooler that you sat on the old new canoe, wasn't it?
Yep, that's for sure.
Oh, man, that's funny as hell. Look, I have not
Yep.
when I go fishing, I have not dressed up, but because when I go fishing, like I'm I want to fish. And
Sure.
I can't get into the fun. I'm a very unpleasant person to fish with. People want to fish with me. I'm like, sure, man, come on. But I pedal. I don't sit still. I pedal. I cover a lot of water. I'm self-deprecating. I scream and holler and cuss at myself a lot. And I'm just not fun to fish with. You know, they see this persona here. I'm fun to hang out with. But when we go fishing, it's not fun. I tell people that people still want to go with me, and we go, but it's not really a good time. Not at all. And I don't really catch fish, so it's pretty much shitty.
Yeah, I mean that's in the eye of the beholder, right?
Hey, well, yeah, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. That's for sure. Well, Derek, what? Tell us why. What has brought you here right now on Bass and Brews podcast? What is the journey that has brought you to where you are right now?
Oh man, we have to go way back for that. Um, yeah, I mean, just as a kid growing up, hunting and fishing, got interested in the outdoors. You know what I mean? And it just kind of that passion kind of overran everything else growing up. And in the morning before school, I would go wading for as long as I could go, and then throw my rod in the woods, run to the bus, soaking wet, go to school. Come home, jump off the bus, grab the fishing rod, head back to the lake. Um,
And
and then
this is Massachusetts. This
yeah,
is born and raised. Okay.
yep. Yeah, grew up in Massachusetts. Basically almost the same area that Nate grew up in. Um, and then kind of just as I got to more of an adult, I ended up having a kid when I was young, and she's grown and married now, and we did the whole family thing where we would I'd get plenty of fishing in, but we did the traveling, softball, dance. I mean, my daughter won national dance titles. She actually
Hmm.
made it to second round of the Celtics dance team
Hmm.
tryouts, which was pretty awesome. Um, but now, like I said, she's grown. She lives on the West Coast. She's got a son of her own, my grandson. Um, and
Yeah, we'll talk about that because you were just out there not too long ago, a few
yeah,
weeks ago.
yeah. So that passion just kind of took over, and fishing, a bunch of tournaments. I used to fish in bass boat tournaments a lot with my dad when I was younger. Grew up, got into high school. It's where I met my buddy Matt Conant. And we used to fish tournaments together back in school, back in high school, freshman in high school. Little John boat tournaments and all that stuff. And then kind of got away from it. We ended up moving out to Texas for a while. Um, Moved back here, um, and then kind of got back into the whole tournament scene. Started off fishing out of a little crawdad that I got from a
Mm-hmm.
buddy of ours that passed away. And at one of those tournaments, I seen this dude with a new canoe pursuit with a motor guide on the front of it, and I'm like, damn, that thing's nice.
What year
Um,
was that?
oh, that was like 2017 or 18. And I said, damn, I gotta get one of those. and ended up buying one, and then buying a motor guide and get it all set up, and like, damn, I gotta start doing this kayak stuff, man. This kayak stuff's legit. And then it just kind of grew into a bunch of things from there. I mean, I got hooked up with Blake Young, the owner of New Canoe, and they put me on the team, and it's kind of just snowballed and spiraled from there. Bless you. And then yeah, I mean, I just started like, it's like, man, I want to start doing this like on a much larger scale. I want to travel around. I want to hit all these, you know, lakes that you heard of your whole life growing up down in the south, Kissimmee and Okeechobee, and then Gunnersville, and all those lakes that I've always wanted to fish. And my wife kind of just said, "Do what you want, man. I mean, that's on you." And kind of gave me like all the rope I needed to hang myself, and I hung myself because, it's just spiraled into something that I absolutely love. And then I was fortunate enough to nudge Conant just enough to get him out of the old John boat world and got him to buy a kayak. And we literally rigged up his kayak the day that he went out and fished the whatever special challenge KBF had. It was like late in the year. It might have been like a Thanksgiving thing or whatever. And he qualified for the national championship. I think it was a national championship, yeah. And wouldn't you know, the dude went and just won the whole thing. And then that spiraled out of control. You know what I mean? And then you meet all these really cool dudes, like Nate and Ken Wood and all these other dudes that you meet like along the way. My buddy Shane from California, all these dudes that I met along the way and built these great friendships with, has just come full circle, and here we are today.
Yeah, and so that was the high level view of it, because from the kayak world, you're from the Northeast, and a lot of people think that there aren't big fish up there, and the folks up there don't really bass fish that well. That's a mantra that you get from people that don't know. And in fishing in general, not just kayak, but fishing in general. And the folks that have done this long enough know that's not right. But you started kayak fishing not that long ago, if you want to be honest, right? 2018 was kind of the that trajectory to the moon of kayak fishing in the tournament world. But you have fished it all. You've won in all of the trails you fished in. You have championships. You've got tournament wins. You were, I think, to my knowledge, and now my kayak fishing experience and knowledge is limited to a lot of other people that do these podcasts. But you were, I think, one of the first ones from the Northeast to get people to perk up and say, "Well, shit." We're down here in Alabama or South Carolina or Florida, and we getting our ass beat by a damn Yankee.
You know what? I heard that a lot. I heard the Yankee thing a lot. Yeah, man. I mean, I guess. I'm not going to say I'm the OG of the Northeast or anything like that. I mean, I think that title probably goes to Ken Wood. I mean, that dude has done it all, has been everywhere, has won everywhere. But I think that I kind of came onto the scene at just the right time. I mean, while I was doing little stuff in like 2018, 2019, I set out with a goal to fish some of these bigger events, and that was with at the time Matt Conant wasn't doing it. He was still doing the John boat stuff, and my really good buddy, country music artist Rob Pagnano, was like, "Dude, let's roll out, bro. Let's go hit some of these things." So I had a road buddy, somebody to split all the costs with, and then we decided we were going to take a run at the very first tournament that both of us had fished on that side, on that level, would be Lake George in New York. And I think I finished like 4th or something like that. And it was like one of those things like, oh man, I just came in front of Greg Blanchard, dude. Like I just beat Greg Blanchard. And unfortunately I couldn't say it about Ken Wood because I think he won that. But anyways, it kind of like started that whole thing. And then like I said, I think it kind of started. I don't know. It kind of started like this weird like feeling inside me, and I really started to connect with the guys at New Canoe, and they really helped to propel, I think, my name out there with a lot of companies. They got me hooked up with Motor Guide, and then Motor Guide really helped me get my name out there. So you were hearing it a lot through New Canoe. You were hearing a lot through Motor Guide. Um, and then, some of the bigger tournaments were, yeah, I mean, well, Ray's coming out. That was a little bit later. But, you know, I think that once we got the ball rolling, it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. And I think it really boosted my confidence um, to do well and finish well. And then, of course, in 2019, I won the Northeast Angler of the Year. I won the KBF Rookie of the Year. I ended up second in Angler of the Year points, made it to the 10 house. So 2019 was like, huge for me. And I think from there, that name really grew from that. Chad Hoover had done a bunch, uh, promoting me basically and helped me out in that direction too. So yeah, it was just something that started off as let's go have a good time. And I think we can hang with these dudes to, oh my goodness, now I'm doing podcasts and this and that. And, you're getting into the R&D side of, like with Motor Guide, I helped to launch and design the Motor Guide kayak motor. You know what I mean? If you look in, like Bass Pro Shops, I'm in there. If you look at Walmart online catalog, I'm in there. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean that's just how it boom, boom, all of a sudden, boom. It was pretty wild. So,
And you stand
pretty
out
fortunate.
too. Yeah, and you stand out. One of the ways you stand out, not only from the fishing, is you got the big. I call it a van. It's like the work truck van. That's got all the stuff on it. So you're riding around in the big van. You don't have a pickup truck. You don't have a trailer. You got a van that you're hauling your shit in. You're sleeping out of. It's got all the the wrap and the stickers and
Yep.
stuff on it. And so you've created a persona that people know who you are when you roll up. Is different than what you see in a lot of this stuff. And you say you can get out of control, and I'll say this about fishing: it don't matter if you're fishing from the bank, a kayak, a john boat, a bass boat. It doesn't matter if you get it. It doesn't matter what level you are or what you're fishing out of or where you're fishing from. You can get in deep regardless of where you are.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not hard to just dive in and get to going. Can y'all hear that damn dinging?
I can't hear
Okay,
shit, man,
good.
so don't ask me.
Yeah, but I can't hear a damn thing because I'm colorblind. But that's just how life goes sometimes. So
Yes, Nate, fishing with me is probably aggravating. He'll say something, I'm like, what? 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 What?
Well,
I have
we're
to, you know
both
what I mean?
that way. Besides when you get a hook in you, I hear that.
Yep.
I'm always, when I go again talking about fishing with people, I'm always saying, huh. I'm like, huh, huh. And I was like, look at me and talk, like scream at me, because I can't hear
Yep.
shit. I can't hear
Yep.
nothing. You can ask my wife. She would agree. I don't hear nothing. The worst thing she said she ever did was get me these noise canceling headphones. Because that has taken it all out. I can't hear nothing. Anyway, and now I got some shit making me more deafer. All right. So you started in the boat side and then got the John boat, the small boat, and then got to the kayaking side. And I'll say this to start it off. You see you fishing a lot of swim baits.
Oh yeah.
Up in New England. Right.
Yep.
And that's not something that swim bait in the East Coast is starting to be a lot more prominent.
Yep.
But you're fishing a lot of big swim baits up in the Northeast. Is that what got you into that? Like what in your lure selection, how you fish, kind of led you into fishing swim baits in New England? Because when I first saw that, I'm like, seriously, what the hell? That's
Yeah.
damn no shit.
Yeah, I mean, like you said though, in the last couple of years, the swim bait game up here has really exploded, and I think people have finally realized that big baits catch even small fish, so it's worth at least throwing them for a little bit. But I'll tell you the main reason why I started throwing swim baits, because a lot of the lakes and the ponds that we fish up here are connected to the ocean in some way. And we have sea run herring that come up and spawn in these lakes and ponds up here. So you get these herring that are 10, 12 inches long, weigh a pound, pound and a half, or whatever they weigh. The same thing that these big 40-pound striped bass are eating. These largemouth are eating, or smallmouth in some of these lakes up here. They come up and they drop their eggs, and they're around for a little while. They get eaten by some bass and they head back out. Well, then those little eggs grow into little, little herring, and then all of a sudden you've got these big bait clouds of little herring all around. So I think that circle of life, and there's those bass. I think there's one spot that I fish where this river comes into this lake, and it's a herring run. And in the springtime, the big largemouth will group up around the mouth of that thing, and they're only there for one reason. They're waiting for those herring to come up, and they're waiting to eat those big baits. And then, you see all the videos of Butch Brown and these dudes out on the West Coast just slamming 10-pounders, 12-pounders, or whatever on these big, like depths 250. That thing's like, I don't know, 10 inches, 6.5 ounces, or whatever. You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, that's something that I want to do. And then, so I started throwing swim baits a long time ago, but not to the extent that I throw them now. And then I've learned over the years that there's a sweet spot, and it's in the Northeast anyways, and it's in that 6 to 7 to 8 inch range where you'll catch 1-pounders and 5-pounders and 3-pounders and 7-pounders or whatever on that size range. They really enjoy that 6 to 8 inch size range. So you'll see me throwing. I really like to throw mag drafts. I throw the freestyle mag draft. I throw the pre-rig mag drafts from Mega Bass, and they just flat out catching them because a lot of the fish up here also eat perch. So a lot of the perch that they're eating, are that size, whether they're white perch or yellow perch. And the herring, and these other, we've got some trout lakes up here that the fish eat some trout, but for the most part, you're trying to imitate that white perch or that yellow perch or that herring or that whatever type of larger profile bait that's up here. And that mag draft, and that, I think the sweet spot where you get the most bites is that 6-inch mag draft if you're throwing a mag draft. But it takes a long time to get the cadence down of the speed they want to eat it, and it's usually like crawling just enough to keep it off the bottom, keep it from fouling up. But yeah, I mean, throwing swim baits are something I really love. Very rarely do I not have a big rod on the boat with a 10-inch, 6.5 ounce depths hanging off the back of it. And people just shake their head as I roll by them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then people really shake their heads because I'm throwing that in a tournament. You know what I mean? If I know that I'm in a big fish area and I want that one big bite, I mean, I don't mind wasting a few hours trying to get one big bite. I mean, the conditions got to be right, and I'm learning a lot about the conditions when it comes to big baits from a good friend of mine that's from the West Coast, very successful pro bass guy, Cameron Smith, and I've been learning a lot watching him with these big baits. He's actually was cool enough that him and I teamed up on a local trail around here, fishing a local big boat trail, and like watching this dude fish one of those big baits. Like half the time I forget that I'm fishing in the back. I'm just watching him, it's like he'll be looking back and like, oh, I should be casting, right? You know what I mean? But like, he's definitely the master of the glide bait. Like I've seen him catch more fish. I mean, like 4-pound smallmouth on a trout glide bait this big. You know what I mean? Like you don't expect a dude throwing a big 10-inch glide bait on a trout lake because, on a smallmouth lake, because you don't think they're going to eat it, but they eat it. So I'm learning a lot when it comes to that, but yeah, I like throwing the big rats. Like I've got a bunch of rats. I like fishing at night a lot.
You and the New Englanders with that damn rat. I mean, y'all be talking
dude,
about
they
that.
Eat it, man. They eat it. I mean,
Look, that's
it's
in
pretty
the
neat when you throw a rat out there that's 13 inches long and you're just crawling that thing across the top and it going bloop, 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 bloop. And then just this explosion and you set the hook and you don't think you hooked the fish, you're reeling in and the fish is this big. I mean, I've caught fish less in length than the rat is, you know what I mean? Quite often. And it's that whole, I don't know, I think it's the whole ambiance of throwing a huge bait, thinking that any bite could be the one where you catch the biggest fish of your life, you know?
So there's a swim bait that I've bought, and I buy the smaller one because I don't have the gear to throw the big ones. But I got on it through Cast and Crank podcast. Nick, who's been on our podcast, and it's Billy Skinner. It's the chicken gizzard is the one he's putting out now. Y'all go check that out because it's a silicone swim bait. It's pretty badass, and you can skip it. It's neat. Go check it out. Billy Skinner, the chicken gizzard. What is the most? Well, they go from 5.5 inches all the way up to a 7.5 inch.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm gonna check them out.
So yeah, check them out. They're really neat. He's out of Yuma, Arizona. So check those out because they're neat. He's got one that you can put that's weedless. So it's got the beast owner hook on it. And then he's got one that's a single treble off the belly. Yep. What's the most expensive bait that you've tied on? You reared back your rod and you casted it, and the bait hits the water and you start reeling and that bitch is gone. Like, do you have one of those like a $200 bait that you've casted and watched it hit and then it's gone?
Yeah, man.
It sounds like it's more than one.
Close your ears, son. Yeah. Now I've got this. I've got this buddy. I mentioned him earlier. Excuse me, Rob Pagnano. He was out in California on a guided trip with the maker of the Johnny Rat, which is like a $200 rat or whatever. And yeah, I've done it. I mean,
I'm ready to stroke for this story.
I gotta take it back for a minute on this one. Yeah, so yeah, I remember tying that thing on the first time, and I think it was like $220 or something. And tying that thing on, I'm like, dude, I'm gonna catch giants. I'm just gonna catch giants on this thing. It's gonna be insane, you know. I reared back, and I always used like 20-pound P-line, copolymer line. It's got some stretch to it. It floats, you know, so it's good for that type of bait. I rear back and I fire that thing off, and first thing I do is blow that reel up and snap, that thing goes flying. Very first cast. Very first cast. Hey, and it's dark out. It's dark out. And I'm listening for it to hit, and it splashes down, and I just put the motor guide on full, and I'm just driving. I got the headlamp going. I'm looking. Like 30 minutes, I pull up, and I see it, and it's like right on the edge. I don't even know how I saw it. It was like just the nose sticking out of the edge of the bushes. And I got it back. I undid my rat's nest, tied it back on, and I did. I caught, I don't know, maybe a half a dozen fish that night, and they were all good ones, like 4+ pounders, you know. And I said to myself, man, it was almost the worst night of my life. The most expensive bait I've ever owned. I snap it off on the first cast. But anyways, I got it back. I caught a bunch of fish on it. But not too long after that, I was throwing it during the daytime, because you will get bites on it during the daytime. It looks so realistic. And it's got the right action. So I was just bringing it down the edge real slow down this bush line, and it's swimming in and out of the bushes like it's supposed to. And I was reeling, and all of a sudden this fish blows up on it. I set the hook, and oh yeah. And I see it like half come out of the water, and it's this giant pickerel. And I'm like, no. And like it started shaking, and next thing you know, boom, and it pops off. Oh. I'm like, no. So I hit the button on the motor guide. Thank God that motor guide's fast. I went racing over there as fast as I could, and I seen it laying down on the bottom with the rat, and it's just shaking its mouth like that. Hey, and it sees me and takes off, right? So I'm like I can see the rat has a big pink tail on it, right? So I'm just seeing the pink tail, and I'm chasing that thing around. And finally, that thing shook it enough that the rat popped out and it floated up to the surface, and I got it back. I
So
lost
you
that
look
bait
like my
twice.
neighbor. You look like my neighbor Harold out there chasing his dog around the neighborhood because it got off the leash, and you was on a boat in the water chasing around.
Oh yeah,
Hey, just real quick.
People.
Look, real quick on Bass and Brews, it's called a fucking jackfish. It ain't a pickerel. It ain't a pike. if it's long, slender, slimy, and got teeth, we call it jackfish now. It's a jackfish.
We call them gators up here.
Well, because y'all ain't got real gators. So, but
no,
on this podcast from here on out, it's a jackfish.
It was a jackfish, and it was a monster jackfish. Yeah, so I broke that thing off twice and got it back. I still got it. It never leaves. Never leaves the kayak.
Nice.
That happened this weekend with the popper. He goes, "Oh, I'm snapped off." Then I hear 3 seconds later, "Oh, hey, there's my popper."
Fast forward with the motor guide, go over and net the popper. I've recovered a lot of lures.
You haven't lost one. You haven't casted one off and lost it and just like sat down and like, well, there went $150, $200.
I have lost a Depths 250 that has never been seen again. I don't know.
12.
Yeah, I don't know what ate it. Something ate it, and it broke me off, and I've never seen it again.
So there's a state record Massachusetts largemouth bass swimming around with a Depths 250 still in its mouth.
You know what? I actually think I was in Vermont. I was in Vermont, I believe. Yep.
All right, so
it could have been a pike or something.
Jackfish. Outside of
jackfish.
Outside of that, what you're a very accomplished tournament angler. What are you starting off? And obviously this is weather dependent. There's a lot of factors that go into this. But typically, like, what are your top 1 or 2 lures that when you go out tournament fishing, they're your go-tos. They're the ones you're starting off with. They're the ones you're going to when things are tough.
Man, I'll be the first. I'll be the first to admit that there's always some type of bladed jig, a chatterbait, a jackhammer, always tied on. Because you can cover so much water. It doesn't matter where you are in the country; they will eat a jackhammer or whatever you want to call it, a bladed jig or whatever. Anywhere in the country, any type of bass, spotted bass, largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, they all eat them. Great search bait. So that's always tied on. Man, it's a toss up between the next two. A jerkbait or a Senko are usually always tied on, or at least a combo of the two always tied on. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I keep 11 rods on the boat at all times when I'm on tournament mode. And everything's got something different or a variation of the same thing, different color, whatever. But I think tournament day is a little bit easier because most of the time you've been there pre-fishing, so you kind of know what you're looking to do through what you've eliminated so far and what you haven't eliminated. Pre-fishing, I mean, I've got everything tied on. I mean, if you ask Nate, if you see me on the water, I always do have a big swim bait tied on at some point. That thing is launching somewhere, trying to catch a big fish to see if I'll tell you, I use a Depths 250 a lot as a search bait, especially around docks. You throw that thing up along a dock and you start, gliding that thing out nice and slow. And those bass that you swear are not there show up somewhere, and they just come out from those docks and they come out from the brush pile. And if you can get them to show themselves, you might be able to catch them. You might not catch them on the Depths 250, but they will almost always follow that thing enough so you can see it. I did it at Lake Murray this year. I was having a trouble during pre-fishing. I said, fuck it, I'm just gonna go ahead and just do some fishing and have some fun. I tied on the depths 250. First dock I pitched it up next to, I was talking to Matt Conan on the phone, and I just 1, 2, 3 little glides, and out comes this mondo, just following it, just like I'm like, oh my, I'm talking to Matt on the phone, like giant coming out. I don't know if it was 10 pounds, it was at least 8, it was huge. And then I went by every single dock, and I just went through I wasn't fishing for anything. I was just trying to get them to come out from under the docks. And I had fished all those docks previous, and I never got a bite. And I went by every dock, and I'll bet you 95% of those docks had big bass under them. And when that glide bait went by, they came out and at least looked at it, and I knew they were there. And I knew I had to go back and at least start there for the tournament, because the potential for over 100 inches was where I was. They did not bite. I did well, but I didn't get any of those big fish. I don't even think during the tournament I got one of those fish to bite, but I knew they were there, so I kept going back. And about a 1.5 mile run to where I was catching fish, backed over there, checked those fish, see if they bite. Nope, run all the way back, fish those fish. Oh, nope, run all the way back. I spent a lot of time doing that. If I know there's big fish in an area, I will spend some time trying to catch them, but not. Well, I try not to spend too much time.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing about
what about Candlewood? You definitely spend some time on a fish there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How long was that?
Oh man, I was like, I want to say it was like 2 hours. The most time I ever spent on a fish was a bedded fish, and that was in Connecticut. I think it was last year when we did the Candlewood events. Right? Yeah, I went to I was actually Lake Lillanoa where I was, and I saw that fish on a bed, and I just on the phone with my dad, because I talked to my dad a lot during tournaments. He calms me down and he tells me about the leaderboards and what's going on and whatever. And I had already fished through this area, and I went back, and the bed that I went to was empty before. And when I pulled up, there was 2 giants on it, and they were mondos. The first one I ended up catching fairly quickly. That was a 19-inch largemouth. But when I released him, I looked back, and I knew that was the male, because this slob of a fish came drifting over the bed. And I said, well, that's it. I'm not leaving for the rest of the day till I catch this fish. And I literally sat there. I think it was like 3.5 hours or something. And I finally caught it. It was like 22 inches, 22.5 inches or something.
Damn it, boy. That is a big in there.
Yeah, it won the biggest fish of the tournament. It was, it made me some money, but like my dad's like, dude, you're still there. Like he kept calling me back. Are you there still? I'm like, yes, I'm not leaving. You don't understand. I am not leaving this spot. This fish is way too big. I don't care if I lose everything. I'm staying here trying to catch this fish. Yeah, in a bed fishing scenario, yeah, I'll stay for 8 hours if I have to catch one like that.
Well, so that's the thing with electronics. With you hear this a lot with glide baits, especially. You can't catch fish where fish ain't, and that's so right. If you know fish are in an area, then you can eliminate so much water and focus your time. Now, getting them to bite, that's the art, that's the skill of fishing. Mm-hmm. And that's where some luck comes into fishing as well, Matt. But
sure,
if you're in an area fishing, you can be in an area, and I think it's not a thing. Edwin Evers said this: you can be throwing the perfect bait in the wrong area, and you ain't ever gonna catch shit. He didn't say shit, right. But I'm saying shit. But you can have the wrong bait in the right area and catch fucking fish. And again, it goes back to me. Buck Perry's from Spoon Plug, and I ain't said his name in a long time on here, so everybody listening, I got to throw him in here now. He coined the term, you can't catch fish where fish ain't. And so, using lures, using your technology to see that fish are there, well, why the hell, if I go half a mile down the lake here and I ain't seeing nothing, why am I still going to be over here? You go back to where those fish are, especially a tournament situation. That's the whole thing. You got to be boat, kayak, it don't damn matter. You got to be where the fish are to catch them. And if you can see them and you know they're there, damn it, spend some time on there to get them. What has, so from the Northeast, right? Y'all have limited. I know Massachusetts doesn't ice over like a lot of the other places up in the Northeast and the North.
Yep.
But being able to translate your fishing game from the Northeast down here to the Southern lakes or to the Texas lakes, to the Midwestern lakes, and because you've won and done very well in tournaments in all these areas across the country, is there something around your area that's helped you translate to other areas, or is it just the way you fish and your knowledge and your patience? How have you been able to translate that down here in the other areas of the country?
So, I mean, here's my theory on how that all works. Number one for me is a bass is a bass is a bass. No matter where you go in the country, they all eat food. They're all slobs. They are all lazy. Eventually, they're all going to bite. But one thing I will say about the Northeast is that our fishery is very diverse up here because we do get the 4 seasons. And you've got lakes up here that are crystal clear. You can see 20 feet to the bottom. You've got lakes up here that you can't see 6 inches down. You got lakes that are filled with grass. You got lakes that are filled with rocks. You got lakes that have current in them. So really up here you have everything you have and all over the country in one area. And if you can just spend time in each one of those areas and kind of learn the specifics of how those fish like to feed, when they like to feed, weather conditions for that type of water, it really increases your success rate in those other places when you go to Gunnersville where it's dirty and you're just fishing all kinds of grass. I feel at home because there's a lake right up the street from my house. Unfortunately, Nate's uncle passed away on it. It has grass, it has dirty water, it has clean water, and there's giants in there. I mean, Nate was 9'5".
And it has a river. It's yeah.
I mean, you can get all of those scenarios around here. You know what I mean? And there's different baits that excel in those conditions. So a lot of times when we get to a lake that is someplace we've never fished, like, oh hey, and Coney and I say this to each other all the time. Hey, this looks like blah 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 lake. This looks like this lake. This looks like that lake. They're relating to the rock like they are here, So you can find that similarities all over the country. And then I just think back to what I would do if I'm at home fishing that lake. And then I just start with that.
I know the first time I went down south and I started seeing all the sunken timber and stuff, I'm like, oh, dude, this is set up just like A1 and like Westboro.
Exactly.
All right, let's try this.
Yep.
Now you talked about fishing in boats, and you have a boat now, right?
I do. I actually just picked up a kind of a project boat. It's a 1992, 91, 92 Bass Cat. I just mounted a brand new Motor Guy Tour Pro on there. Yeah, man, I was just kind of one of those things like, oh man, I'm having so much fun this year on the big boat with my buddy Cameron that I want to start doing that stuff around here again like I used to, along with the kayak stuff. So,
do you think that
scary though? Because Paul, you know what him and Matt can do as a team. You put him and Matt on a big boat together, they're gonna be a problem.
Do you feel like that the kayak fishing made you fish better from the big boat?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's like 3 main reasons why it made me fish better. First reason being I needed to really pick apart structure more instead of running around like a crazy person. Because when you're in a kayak, you really don't have that luxury. I mean, kayaks now are becoming more and more advanced. The motorized systems are becoming more and more advanced, whether it's a rear-mounted motor or a motor guide or a Minn Kota or whatever you've got. The Newport vessels, you got torpedoes, whatever you got mounted on your boat, help you get a lot more places quicker, safer. But you still have to slow down a lot more and really target your high percentage areas a little bit better when you're in a kayak, in my opinion, anyways. The second reason is probably another reason that would make you fish slower is because you need to be safer. Slowing down, making sure you can fish in that type of condition safely. And then people laugh at me when I say this, but you feel like you're a lot closer to the fish when you're in a kayak. I mean, like
Well,
you can
because you
creep up
are.
on
You
them.
literally
Well, yeah, I
are.
mean, physically you're closer, yes, but you're also almost on the same level with them. It's like when you're in a bass boat, you got all this stuff behind you, and you got, when a kayak, you can creep up and get intimate with those fish, and I've been 2 foot from a dock piling and flipped at that thing and watched a bass come out and eat it. And
So
now, obviously, yeah,
can I add something to this? I've found one thing that's really helped me with kayak fishing and then going to big tournaments. Like when you look at a lake on Navionics, as a kayak angler, you learn to break down that lake so much different. Because on a big boat, you're running the spots everybody looks at. But as a kayak angler, where you're limited, you're looking for those little secret small divots that stand out, like on super zoom and stuff.
The
yep,
spot
But
in the spot.
yeah,
yep, exactly. The spot on a spot on a spot that's inside of another spot is what you're always
yep.
looking for.
One of the things that I learned in the kayak is when you're going, when you want to make a quote unquote run, on a kayak and a run is like a half mile or a mile. But when you're
Not
going,
when you're Derek.
when you've taken your shit up and you're going to the next spot, you're scanning the whole way. Like you're able to see everything on your graph and
Yep,
everything around you, and you're able to go across something of like, holy shit, there's fish here, or damn, this look, there's a brush pile, there's a boulder.
yep,
That's something that in my local lakes with a couple guys that have boats that we fish together. I hop on their boats every now and again, and I say, hey, let's go look at this spot. And I'm like, damn, I've been driving by this for 2 years and didn't
yep,
know it was there. And it's because they're going 65 miles an hour across it and they never saw it. And there was nothing there.
for sure.
They didn't know that brush pile existed. What was the third thing? You had three, you went through two. What was the third thing?
So the third thing I think is a lot. I don't know if it's so much dedicated to kayaking as far as just learning to be a lot more stealthy. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because I think it's kind of more of a proximity thing, like I was saying, because I always find myself right on top of fish for some reason. And if you ever roll up on a fish, usually in your bass boat, you've got three transducers pinging and doing their thing, and you got the waves slapping off the thing. A lot of times that fish will spook, but we roll up in a kayak a lot of times. It doesn't go anywhere. It just stays there, unless you're do something crazy and you hit your remote and you blow out a bunch of sand off your prop, or do something like that, then yeah, you got to spook that fish. But a lot of times they'll hold a lot tighter to the cover before you can get right on top of them. When the bass boat, it just seems like I've never been able to get that close.
Mm-hmm. So with your boat, are you looking at doing some opens, local tournaments? Kind of
Oh,
what's
no.
your idea?
Yeah, just the local stuff. No, I mean this thing, you roll up to the opens and this thing, people will be laughing at you. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
Derek
not
Brundle,
that
two
it's
years.
yeah.
Hold on, 2 years from now, Derek Brundle is going to be fishing the damn Northern Opens out of his 1992 Bass Cat and winning money in them. Watch, I'm saying it right here, right now. You watch. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
You laugh, but have you watched Blanchard's YouTube video with Obi and root beer? And then he brings you inside, and he's got the open trophies from that boat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. I mean, could it be done? Sure. Do I have any intentions of doing that? No. I literally just got it for doing there's some good local trails around here. We have a lot of really good local fishermen around here that never travel any further than Massachusetts, basically. And every state's the same. There's local hammers that you never ever hear of, because they don't ever want to be heard of. But yeah, I mean, my whole goal with that was just to have another outlet to do some local stuff. Um, and get back into the big boat side of it, because there's a lot of dudes that I know around here that I respect that are very good fishermen, and always trying to fish against the best to try and make myself better. You know what I mean. So, yeah, I mean, the only intention for that boat was just that I got a smoking deal on it, and it seemed like fun, so why not?
Well, I mean, you hear Todd Castledine is one you hear. If you ever listen to podcasts he's on or watches YouTube, he talks about the money he wins fishing local. Now he's also in an area where
For sure.
there's 2 or 3 tournaments a week. I mean, he has a lot more opportunity down there. But oh Lord, Nate, to turn his damn he must have had to go tank.
He lost his beard.
Yeah. Oh no, he
just
didn't.
looks
He
like a
lose
weird
that beard.
stick figure.
But you can those local guys that can fish their ass off. Why would they travel all over the country if they're just fishing to win money? They don't want to be. They're not going to be on the elites. They're not going to fish MLF. They're not going to do that stuff. They stay local and they win $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, and there are tons of people that fish local that win that kind of damn money. I mean, there's something to say about staying local. It doesn't mean that you can't fish or you haven't proven yourself because you haven't fished nationally. But I mean, you look at it from a business perspective, and it doesn't matter kayak or boat. It doesn't matter, right? If you're going to fish tournaments and you're going to stay local, and you're winning an extra $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 out of the year, shit. I mean, come on now. You make
you got no travel. You got no travel expenses. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know most of these lakes around you because it's local. In my case, I grew up fishing all these lakes. I mean, I grew up in the next town from where I live right now, and I do it now. I mean, my wife had some 2 strokes earlier this year, so it kind of limited my national scale, driving all over the country for a while. But when I could, I got out and fished a lot of local stuff. We've got some awesome local trails. I mean, Ken Wood runs one of the best trails I've ever been involved with, the Massachusetts Kayak Basin. His events, they sell out, within a few minutes, seconds sometimes. And then he's got to add different events just to, appease everybody that's in the club. And, some of the names that are in there are crazy. It's the same names that we fish against across the country. You got John Ferreira, Nate, you got Ken Wood, you got Mike Marcone, you got Matt Conant, you got Anthony Campbell, you got Neil Raposa, you got all these dudes that you see on the kayak trail all over the place that fish all right here. So we're always battling it out and shit talking all the time on the local level. And we all do it for fun, but we're all serious about it too, and then again, like I said, there's so many different local things that you can get into, monthly stuff like that. You win $200, $300, $400 a month on 4 different monthlies, and you've won $1,600 for that month. You know what I mean? And I do a lot of that, and that's the reason for that. And then you've got all the national stuff. EKF, Elite Kayak Fishing, is becoming a really big trail up this way. They hold amazing events. So there's a lot of cool local stuff that, like you're saying, I mean, if you lock down on just local stuff and fished 2-3 tournaments a week, you could probably make another 25, 30 grand locally.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? For sure.
So, funny story about Mike.
They have
Nate,
options for
Nate.
everybody up here. Yeah, I know. I'm talking.
What happened to your face? What happened to your
Dude,
face, bro?
Are you talking to us or are you talking to your puppy dog?
I'm talking to you. We
Well, why
have
can't we see
also
you?
trails up here that accommodate to everybody. Ken runs Sunday events. He runs Saturday events. He runs the Thursday night throwdowns for the people that can't make weekends. I mean, they have opportunities for everybody up here in a kayak, and I think that makes it really cool as well.
Well, running a tournament there is kind of difficult too, because don't you have bodies of water where you can only have so many people on?
All of them.
Yeah, that's why we sell out in seconds.
Yeah, so in Massachusetts, there's a law. If you have a tournament with more than 24 anglers in it, you need to hire a police detail to supervise the event. So when you hire this police detail, there goes your entire pot. So you just shut the entries off at 24. So you're still legally following the rules. And then, Ken will, like Nate said, Ken will run an event on Sunday, so the dudes that couldn't get into the Saturday event can fish Sunday, or he'll run a separate event on that Saturday, so those dudes can fish that Thursday night throwdowns. We're just like a pop-up thing, you know what I mean? It's just, there's so much opportunity. But to answer your question, yeah, I mean, up here we don't have big lakes really. I mean, there's, you're fishing a big lake around here, you're really killing it at 1,200 acre lake. You know what I mean? That's massive up here.
Down here in the Carolinas, we call them ponds.
Yeah. Well, they're called ponds up here too, but we try and make ourselves cool and call them lakes. You know what I mean?
I remember going down to Alabama and seeing what you guys consider a river for the first time, being like, "What the hell is this?"
Yep.
So, a funny story about Mike Marcone and how small this world is. I used to be a wildland firefighter. In the first year that I was fighting fire, one of my buddies, there was a group of us in the bunkhouse. One of my buddies was Matt Sikowski. And when I started kayak fishing and started posting shit on the Facebook and Instagram and shit like that, he messaged me. I can't remember exactly how it went, but something about my buddy up. He's from Boston originally. My buddy up in Boston does some fishing. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. And you get these right. My buddy does some fishing, and they fish in front of the bank with worms and shit. Well, he sends me Mike's information. I text him back like, oh shit, he does real fishing, like he's traveling and shit. So I messaged Mike. Now we hadn't talked as much this year, but that all of last year, me and Mike went back and forth, and he couldn't fish a lot last year. Yeah. But we messaged back and forth. But I got connected through Mike from a buddy of mine from 2007 from wildland firefighting, and that was kind of my first introduction to people fishing up there in the Northeast. So speaking of tournaments in the Northeast, you hear you have some of the bigger tournaments that come up there. And I know y'all are New England, and then there's Northeast. I got schooled on the difference, but for the fucking shits and giggles of it, you hear a lot about these our larger kayak trails going up there and the turnouts being low. Sure. Compared to the South, what do you think the reason for that is? Now, obviously, and let me preface it with this. Part of it is a majority of your anglers that are fishing them in the South and Midwest are in those areas. They live there. Yeah. And it's a long ass haul up there. But what do you think? How do you get it? How do you get it higher? What is the thing about the turnout in those areas? Because y'all max out y'all's tournaments, y'all got hell of anglers, but y'all are all there.
I'm gonna let Nate go over here because he's pointing and wagging and doing all kinds of stuff.
Look,
his friggin' beard is twitching up there. He's got stuff going on.
I know Nate has something to say because he turned his fucking camera back on.
Oh yeah. I'm probably gonna offend some people on this one. I think flat out the reason those big trails don't sell out up here are those southern people are not coming up here. You check down there, everybody that's fishing the northeast trails up here are fishing down there. You go check Kissimmee for KBF, you go check Hobie down there. There is a ton of northeast guys going down south. You go check up here though, there is none of those big name people coming any further than Pennsylvania. And
Pretty
that's
much
my
the same
spiel.
exact answer I was going to give. Yep.
So what you're
And
saying
it's the
is
truth.
y'all are there. The folks that fish the local tournaments in the Northeast and New England, they're fishing those big tournaments. What we don't see is that pool of the other 100 coming from the South and the other
What I'm
areas.
saying is you will
Travel up.
never see a Christine Fisher up fishing a Hobie at Winnipesaukee. You will never see Guillermo up fishing a Hobie at Winnipesaukee. Will they go fish a Hobie down south? Absolutely.
I don't have no dog in that game. I'm just curious because that's one of the things you hear, and y'all catch big fish in Massachusetts. Now, also where y'all are, y'all can't have a 200 boat tournament in most of your lakes, but there are big fish to be caught there. And especially when you get in the smallmouth season. Sure. I mean, motherfuckers up there catching 34-pound bags of smallmouth. I don't know where the hell it was. It was somewhere north of North Carolina. But I mean, it's not like there's not big fish to catch. And when the smallmouth bite is on, we've seen it through bass and MLF. It is on. They are catching fish left and right so much that it's the only time you ever think catching fish is fucking boring.
Yeah, I think there's, besides the reasons or, kind of the obviousness of what Nate has stated, I think there's two reasons. Number one reason is y'all hate us from down south. Y'all hate the Yankees.
I don't hate
the South.
I don't hate y'all.
I'm going to go out on a limb and tell you that the South will never rise again, no matter how many times people say it. And I think they resent the people from the North. No, but all seriousness, I think there's a lot to do with those trails are just recently starting to come up this way, and they don't really know that the fishery can be just as hot up here as it is down there. And just as good. I mean, you've got guys catching 100-inch bags up here during tournaments. You've got the smallmouth fishery is incredible. And that kind of scares a lot of anglers, to be honest with you. I think that when you got the heart of kayak fishing, let's be honest, is the Tennessee River lakes. I mean, all that area down there, that's where KBF started. That's where the whole thing was kind of born, or made, quote unquote, famous. And it still is. I mean, I know the local trails down there, they get 100 boat entries all the time.
Well, not only that,
goes down there, they sell out immediately.
Yeah, well, you not only that, to cut you off for a quick second, that the TVA area is where the pros who don't live in the South are moving. The California guys are moving there. Northern guys are moving there. Like that is right now that Tennessee Valley TVA area, all those lakes, that's the mecca of fishing right now because of the quality of fish and the bodies of water. But yeah, it's funny, but traveling, and this leads me into something, Derek, with you and Nate, y'all travel together. You're driving, when you have to come down in the early part so for 2/3 of the fishing season, you're down here if you're traveling fishing national trails. You're down here. You're coming to Florida, Texas, Alabama, South Carolina. Those are 2.5 day, 18-hour travel times for you. It's not like you're just not taking a Friday off to pre-fish and then fish. You're having to take days off just to get down here. Not if you just get down here and fish Saturday, you're still having to take days off to get down here. How do y'all make that travel work? Like, how do you make
Red
it
Bull?
viable and fun?
Red Bull, a lot of Red Bull.
Guys.
No, I mean, and that was kind
Y'all
of
all pile in
my
Derek's
second.
van and drink Red Bulls and sing country western songs on the way down to Texas.
I know
Pretty much how it
Alabama
goes.
was 28 straight. It was me, Ken Wood, and Joe DiDeo in the car, and we didn't stop for gas, more than gas or food. And I mean, one dude was driving, the other two were sleeping, and it was just the whole way.
Is that where Ken messed you up, Nate, and dropped all of his dropped his box of hooks and weights and shit, and y'all got mad at each other? You remember that podcast? What was
Alabama's where me and Joe messed Ken up on the scoreboard. But no, that was Florida when
was Florida. I was just gonna say that was Florida.
We were starting Steve-O's, whatever his FS podcast was called. He had going there. It was a spin-off of yours. I don't know, something Bass and Bourbon instead of Bass and Brews. I don't know what he called it.
Yeah, but, they tried to steal at that point in time. They tried to come off of our 100 viewers episode, and nobody could understand what the fuck was going on after like 5 minutes. So
it was like literally right as we had started rolling. I'm like, Ken, are you gonna be on this? And he's like, I'll be on in a little bit. And I'm like, all right, just be a little bit quiet then. He's like, all right. Literally, Steve-O clicks go, and all you hear is his terminal. Across the tile. That was awesome.
Hey, so Derek, I've never fished. I fish out of a Hobie besides my little Walmart kayak, which is, again, it's an Avalon 120. You can still find them. It was a good ass kayak for the river. You can't stand up in it if you're fat as hell like me, but I fish out of a Hobie. The new canoes, big deck space, you stand up, like the first time I ever saw you in the videos I've watched, you were always standing up. Have you ever fallen out your kayak?
Never.
Why you even gotta put that juju on him?
Well, I'm just asking.
That's not a question we ask.
Eventually it'll happen.
In the North,
Eventually it'll happen. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I just like I said, I come from fishing the bass boat world. I come from fishing the John boats. I've always stood up, you know what I mean? And then when I got into the kayak, when I first got into it, I was in a new canoe Pursuit, and I thought that thing was ultra stable, and it is. It's a very stable boat. I stood up in that thing all the time. People were like, "You're nuts, dude. You should not be standing up when bass boats are just blowing by and you're taking waves over the bow and stuff." You know what I mean? And then I got into my new canoe Unlimited, and it's like you can have dance offs with people and going by. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I've always enjoyed standing. I think I have a better view of the playing field. I can see fish better. I can cast better. I can cast more accurately. Yeah, I mean, I'm always standing.
I've never gone in either, man. But since I got that motor guide and I'm on that Derek Brundle stand-up level, dude, I've almost gone in times this year where I've wound up hanging on to that motor trying to
I have done that. I have been thrown out of the kayak, but caught the motor guide on the way out. Saved me from going in the water, and that was on the Susquehanna River a couple of years ago. It was dark out. We were launching. I was super excited because I was catching like 95 to 96 inches every day in practice. Boy, as soon as that thing, whatever time it was, I seen that thing hit the phone. I put the phone in my pocket and I just hit the go button and I cranked that thing up, and I was heading downriver in the dark with the motor guide on full, just ripping on the Susquehanna River. I was ripping down current. I'm like, man, I'm gonna get to my spot, get set up, hit the pinpoint GPS. I'll be ready to cast as soon as the number switches over. And right as I'm thinking, like, dude, why are you going so fast in the dark? Boom! I hit a rock right dead center of the trolling motor, and it sent me straight forward because I was probably going 6.5 miles an hour. I mean, I was going down current, and it was ripping, and I was on full throttle. And it like, luckily, I was facing forward, and if the screen is the motor guide, I landed on top of it, holding it. I literally smashed my knees against the Pursuit has a junk tray, a junk drawer. I smashed my knees against that. Both of them were black and blue. And I was showing Conan, after we got back to the launch, and he's like, "What were you thinking, dude?" I'm like, "Dude, I was just so excited to go down there." But since I put this new 24 volt on my unlimited, if you have that thing on full throttle and you shut it off and you've got it turned to the side or something and you hit the button and it turns on, that thing is all balls all the time, and it's all you can do to stay in it. I've almost thrown myself out a few times, but I've never gone in.
So
Knock on wood.
Matt was with me on the Charles. I think we were pre-fishing for the KFL event. And dude, I knew that spot on the Charles like the back of my hand, but that water's lower than we ever seen it. Me and Matt were full motor headed down river, standing up, and I remember turning to Matt to say something, and that motherfucker just came to a dead stop. Threw me from same thing, dude. I just grabbed the trolling motor and like kind of like I remember going down, looking at the water and coming back, and then going to stand up. Matt's dying laughing. He kills his motor to make sure I'm all right. I go to step back again, and my flip flop catches the fish finder because I have it right there in the middle. Oh, dude, I ate shit going backwards. Took the metal bar of the seat to like the middle of the back. I'm rolling around in the kayak like
That's
weaving and
hilarious.
stuff, but I never went over.
Hey, Nate, you are the slowest talking fucking Yankee I've ever heard in my entire life.
I am, man. I am. I've been this way since I was a kid too. You
Well,
can't even blame it on anything.
I know if you just drawed your vowels out a little bit more, nobody would ever know you were from Massachusetts.
No, and it's actually messed up, dude. Because like back when I used to drink, I'd go into like bars up here, and people would just start talking to you, and they'd be like, "So where are you from? You on vacation?" Like, nah, I live up the road. Really? You got an accent? Are you always from here? Yeah, no, I'm from here.
But hey, the other day we was talking on the phone. Your Boston accent came the fuck out on the phone the other day. I hadn't heard it like that. I had never heard it like that. I mean, it was. I can't do a Boston accent because because I don't know how to talk without my tongue touching my lips and shit. But you came out of it there. Hey, speaking of traveling, what? Go ahead, Nate.
I don't know what you said to me, but my Boston accent only really comes out when I'm angry. So I'm wondering what you said to me that I would have had a Boston accent.
I don't know. Oh, speaking of that, we got to get this story because I'm going to forget if we don't tell it right now, which means I'm going to forget the question I was just going to ask. But it's okay. It's Bass and Brews. So we live this podcast off of chaos. So Derek, we told this story before we started about me and my buddy down here, Justin Faircloth, fished a KBBT last summer, and we drew first round you and Conant. And I had just got on with the Hookset Hoodlums team, and I was in the team chat, and Nate was in the team chat. And so I come on like, hey man, this and that. We got Conant, and I know who y'all were. We did. And I think y'all just won it the previous year in 19. So, we knew what we were going against. And I say that
year as well.
They did. They didn't win it. Justin Faircloth and then put a whooping on everybody's ass. Justin Faircloth beat everybody every damn tournament. He was on them with Sun Guns, but he was fishing like Brundle. Anyway, I go in this chat and I say, we're fishing, we got Brundle and this and that. And Nate goes, oh, you're fucked. Was his words, "You're fucked."
This story also starts with back when I was drinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that was a late night text, and I was sitting
It
at
was.
home. And I think I had like just finished fishing with you and Matt at Snip. And I get home and I remember
But me
reading.
and Nate didn't even know each other either.
No,
Like I didn't
no.
know anybody. Nate just
He was some new dude, and he was
yeah.
like, I was like, "Oh, you guys are fucked." And he's like, "Dude, anybody's got a chance on any given day." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Listen, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. These two are probably two of the best individual anglers in the kayak scene, and you put them on a team together, it's not gonna go well." And he's like, "Oh, you don't understand." And I'm like, "True to God's story. I tell this story more often than not. Everybody knows Derek, he kills it.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, we fished a KBF weekend tournament, and man, I went out all 3 days, put up 90 and change. I can't remember, but I was up there, right? Been talking to Matt all weekend. Matt couldn't fish. Finally, with God, I think 6 hours left in the day, Matt's like, I got 3 hours to go fish. Matt goes out and puts up like 100 and a quarter in 3 hours up here in Massachusetts. So you give
Yep.
him and Derek the opportunity to go fish wherever they want. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You're going to lose. And
Well,
I mean, it got so bad. Bill wound up texting me personally and was like, "Dude, take it
chill
easy
out,
on
man.
him." Yeah, like
But
he's
see,
new to
they
the
didn't.
team.
Yeah, but they didn't know me either. So I don't. I do not like to fun fish. Like, will I just go out and fish? Yes, but there's a reason. I'm
Sure.
trying. It's all tournament. I'm trying a new lure. I'm trying a new
Yep.
area. Something right. Like I got into kayak fishing because I wanted to compete, and that's like I want to fish in tournaments. That's all I want
Yep.
to do. And my mindset is I don't enter a tournament with the thought that, oh yeah, I'm just going to fish. No, bitch, I'm going to win that. Matter of fact, we have our North Carolina State Bass Championship tomorrow. I missed the damn captain's meeting today because we're recording this, but we got this tomorrow on a lake that I've never been to. But I don't care. I'm going to win. I'm going to fish to win. And so, I don't talk a lot of shit, but it's funny. This all happened, and all of a sudden I get like Bill's like chastising Nate and shit. But what's funny about that tournament though is we had a local tournament that Saturday on Justin's home lake, and he had been on some fish, and I caught one fish. It was a good one, and he ended up catching. He didn't have a great day. Matter of fact, he finished second with like 90 inches, and the first place guy had 102 at something. I don't know. It's crazy, but this lake had big fish. But Sunday, we were fishing my home lake, which was Sharon Harris, and I had been on some damn good fish. And I knew where those bastards were. I knew what we were going to do. The weather set up perfect. But we started this, and Justin loses a 20-something inch fish, a over 20-inch fish. And then in like the last 30 minutes, I think one of you, Brundle or Conant, one of them ended up catching the fish in like the last 30 minutes because I don't know who it was, but y'all were, Brenda, you were texting or talking to Justin. Yeah, called it. That ended up beating us.
Every Northeast angler's life here is Matt Brundle or Ken Wood caught one in the last half hour.
It was crazy, but it was a good time. But back to a question that I knew I was going to forget, what I just fucking forgot. What
There's
the hell
something
was
about
it?
travel. There's something about travel is what you started in on.
Oh, yes. See, this is why I bring really good guests on this podcast, because
That's why I drink water.
They keep it going. Look, I ain't even drunk. I ain't had enough to even be drunk yet. I'm only 1.5 White Claw surges in. I usually drink 4 or 5 on this
dang,
Sunday.
got the White Claws.
Surge. It's got 8 alcohols in it, Derek.
Wow. 8 alcohols.
I only got I don't have to drink a case of White Claws anymore and be all bloated and full. I can drink 6 of these and be right.
You seem
Anyway,
like a box wine type of person, Paul.
I do not discriminate against alcohol. I will drink any type of alcohol that's there. If it's free or if it's all they got, I'm gonna drink it. I mean, I'm gonna deal with the repercussions later. That's also why I'm fat as hell. Y'all's travel, so you and Konek travel a lot together, and this is I don't remember you talked about it on a podcast I listened to or one of your videos, but you talked about when y'all fish together. And if y'all want to fish at different places, that sometimes one of your asses is getting dropped off at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning with your kayak at the launch, and you just have to sit there for the next like 3 or 4 hours waiting on launch. Like, how do y'all work that shit out? Because that's a dynamic in kayak fishing specifically that you really don't have to worry about in boat fishing. But when you travel together and there's two people in a vehicle with your kayaks, how do y'all figure that shit out? Or is it just y'all are good buddies? You understand? Like, that's weird.
Whoever's car you didn't take is the one that is getting dropped off.
Yeah, no. Conan and I kind of run it differently, to be honest with you. We both go into it and the understanding that, hey, we're gonna take one vehicle, save money, split the costs. And yeah, I mean, sometimes some dude's gonna get dropped off in the middle of fucking nowhere at 2 in the morning, so the other dude can get to his spot by launch time. And here's an example of it: national championship. We were fishing basically opposite ends of Gunnersville. Conan dropped me off at, I want to say it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and he had an hour and 40-minute ride to go get to his spot so he could launch and get in the water by time, launch time or whatever. So 2 in the morning, Conan drops me off. And of course, there ain't no other stupid idiot there. I was
only
down,
you and the crackheads.
Oh my God, right? Well, there weren't nobody. It was me and the animals. Because I was down some road that wasn't anywhere near anything. I mean, there was no lights down there. There was nothing. It was black, pitch ass black. So Conan says, well, you want to drop me off or you want me to drive? I said, man, I don't want to drive all the way up there, drop you off, and then drive all the way back. So just drop me off on your way and then, go to your spot and pick me up when you come back or whatever. Because I don't care, whatever. I'll take a nap. I'll just lay in my kayak on the side of the beach there and take a nap or whatever. So I did. I took my kayak and I got everything in it. And, we'd take about 45 minutes, an hour. We'd search around with both the lights going, making sure I got everything I need. Because once he goes, that's it, man. He ain't coming back. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's gone. And literally, when I tell you there's no lights, I couldn't even see any lights anywhere. I mean, there was nothing. So he drops me off, and we're talking on the phone or whatever, and I'm like, bro, you know what? I think I'm going to crash out for an hour or so, you know what I mean? Whatever, get an hour of sleep. So I get all my stuff off the ramp. I pull my kayak around. I pull it up, and there's just kind of a branch hanging over there. So I pull my kayak up under there, and I kick my feet up and put myself back. I pull my hat down over my head like that. And I'm sitting there, and I hear off in the distance a rumbling. What the hell is that? Sounds like a car. And then I see headlights way in the distance. I'm like, damn it, I was gonna be alone here, you know what I mean? So this dude comes pulling down in there, and it's by that time I think it was about 3:30 in the morning. It was still pitch black. And dude hops out, and there ain't nobody in the parking lot, of course, right? There ain't nobody around. There's nothing. And I could see like the bounce in his step. He had the spot to himself. He's all happy and shit. He's out there. He's unloading. He's got these big lights on the back of the truck, and he's pulling his shit out. He's putting it together, and he backs halfway down the ramp about to pull his kayak out. And I'm over on the side, complete dark. And I mean, we're literally a mile probably from any lights or whatever. And he goes to pull it out, and I realize it's Adam Patrone, right? So he goes to pull his kayak out. I go, "What up, bro?" Real loud, right? I swear he lost a pair of underwear that day. He might not admit it, but I swear them drawers had colors on them after that. He about came out of his skin, and I laughed so hard. And I've done that to multiple people.
Funny story about Patron. The first time I ever met him in person was down in Florida, and same situation. Me and Ken had different ramps. Ken was dropping me off at the crack ass of dawn. Now, for those of you that weren't there, us Northerners decided to go to Florida in January, and it was fucking 28 degrees in Florida.
It's a
So,
different 28 degrees too.
dude, none of us are packed for this. It's like
Mhm.
fucking 3 in the morning. I'm at the boat ramp, freezing, and pulls this car. And I'm like, all right, dude, like at least there's somebody else here. He gets out and he goes, "Hey man, how you doing?" And I immediately recognized the voice. And I'm like, "Hey man, are you Adam Patron?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Hey man, I'm friends with Derek Brundle and the rest of the Maulers. How you doing?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I've heard a lot about you." I'm like, "Cool man, you care if I wait with you in your car? Because it is freezing." He's like, "Yeah, sure, no problem. Hop in."
Yep.
Look,
Yeah,
look.
Patron's a good dude.
So the cold down here is a different cold. I never knew this until same year as a wildland firefighter. My first year, 2007. We have a buddy. His name's Derek. Comes down from Minnesota, and he gets down there, and it's late January. We're in South Carolina, and it's like 40, 45 degrees, so it's chilly. But he's got his hood on. He's a big boy too. He's got his hood on. We're in the bunkhouse. And so he's over there and he's like this on the couch. I'm like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? He's like, man, I'm just so cold. It's like my bones are cold in his Minnesota accent. And I didn't realize that there's a difference in the temperature up there than down here. 28 degrees in Florida is a cold that will make dude, it'll make your pecker go up into your up into your stomach.
My favorite part about it, and I know Derek, you probably get this shit all the time too when we go down south in the early months, is especially in Florida, dude. Like I'm sitting there shivering. I'm 135 pounds. There ain't fucking nothing in me. And none of us were prepared for that. I mean, we were trying to buy ugly ass sweatpants at Walmart just to keep warm. Like I had sweatpants on over pajamas. It was terrible. And I got guys sitting there, "Ain't you from up north? Shouldn't you be used to this?" I'm like, dude, just because it's cold up there doesn't mean we don't get cold.
Yeah, I got those comments a lot. And it was always like,
Yeah,
well, I left all them clothes at home because it ain't supposed to be like that down here.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Not to
know.
mention, just because it gets there doesn't mean oh, you're used to it. It's still cold. We only have that for like 3 months out of the year.
Yeah. Look, when I fish, it doesn't matter in the wintertime. It doesn't matter. 365 days a year. If I'm out on the water, I got Crocs on. Crocs, no socks. And I wear three layers. I wear a tight shirt, some kind of long, tight, Under Armour type shirt. And then I wear a hooded fishing shirt. And then I got the small down vest that I wear. And then I wear transition pants and Crocs, no socks. I've been fishing out in 18-degree weather, 20-degree weather. We're launching, ice on shit down here. It happens, believe it or not. And that's what I have on. That's what I'm comfortable with. It's cold as fuck until the sun gets up. And then, before the end of the day, I done zip my transition pants off and I'm in my fishing shirt doing that. But that's it's a different kind of cold down here when it gets like that, man. It's just, I don't know, the humidity. I don't know, because y'all got humidity and shit up there. It's just different. But you also don't expect it when you come down here on that. Hey, we're running. Let's talk about your West Coast trip you did. It's been about 6 weeks ago, I think now, right? Talk about the West Coast trip, because you got to do some fishing and some stuff out there.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. I mentioned it earlier. My wife had 2 strokes earlier this year, and in August we got the all clear for her to fly. So we've got a grandson and a daughter that live out there. My son-in-law. we've been dying to get out there and go see them. He just, he's just had turned 1 in April, and then, you know, so we couldn't go to that, and we wanted to go see them. So I had talked to my buddy Shane, Shane Lamont out there. You guys probably know
Yeah,
him on Instagram as
Bass Thumbs
Bass Thumbs
Fishing.
Fishing.
Yep.
So Shane and I are good buddies. And every time I go out to California, I try and hook up with him. We go fishing somewhere. So I said to him, I says, "Hey man, we're coming out in August. Do you want to go fish Clear Lake with me?" You know what I mean? He's like, "Oh hell yeah, dude." He's like, "I wasn't gonna be able to go." He's like, "Cause I didn't have anybody that would make the trek like overnight, no pre-fishing, anything like that." Because it's like 9 hours from my daughter's house. She lives in Oceanside, and Clear Lake is way the hell up at Clear Lake. Um,
Y'all fish the
so
tournament?
Shane and I,
Didn't you fish the KBF tournament?
well, no. Yeah, we fished a
Oh.
KBF tournament. It was at Clear Lake. KBF, the Pro Series, day one, and then KBF Trail 1 and KBF Trail 2. Plus, we were also fishing in the Chris Laird Memorial Tournament for Yakka Bass, one of
Mm-hmm.
their California trails out there. Um, Plus, I wasn't involved in it, but Friday and Saturday was the West Coast Kayak Championships.
Mm.
Um, so there was a ton of stuff going on. Plus, there was another Lakeport Bait and Tackle had their own tournament going amongst all those tournaments. It was a crazy weekend
Damn.
up there.
Shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and of course, as we're going out there, I'm watching the weather forecast, and it's like, unbelievable droughts coming up, record setting week of heat, all in the hundreds, you know what I mean? So I'm talking to buddies that live up there. I'm talking to guys that used to live out there. I'm talking to all these people, and the lake is low, you know what I mean? But whatever. Shane's like, "Hey, let's do it, dude. Let's roll up there. We'll leave, Friday after I get out of work or whatever, and then we'll roll up there and we'll go fish it and come back." Which is great for me because I'm like, hell yeah, I get to see all my buddies from the West Coast or whatever. They'll all be up there. Plus, there's some other dudes that I know that are coming from, Bryce Gibbs from Arizona and some other dudes that are going to be out there. And so we take off after work, and um, we ended up, I had to stop at Romel Labrador's house, borrow a kayak from him. We got there at midnight, and then he's like 3 hours from Clear Lake, so we blasted out from his house immediately. Got to Shane's friends had an Airbnb on the lake. We got there, woke their asses up, made them make us coffee. We had coffee, and then we went straight to the boat launch. So um, it was crazy. We got there, and the lake was like, I don't know, like 8 feet low. It was nuts.
Damn.
And it was 104 degrees. Yeah, it was like 104 degrees. Um, it was not pleasant. But yeah, so I ended up blanking on the first day amongst, I think, 76 or 78 people didn't catch a fish on the first day. There was 100 and something dudes, in the two combined tournaments or whatever. Actually, I think the Chris Laird Memorial Tournament was like 118 guys or something like that. So 70 something of us didn't even catch a fish the first day, which
Damn.
was crazy. I mean, Clear Lake, that's all you ever hear is like, you're going to go to Clear Lake, you're going to catch these 10-pounders, and there's fish everywhere, and it's every cast with a frog, or you're punching everything. And it's just, and I went at it hard the first day. On the very first cast, there was lines in at 6, I think. At 6 o'clock, I cast a frog out there. It twitched, 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 and it looked like somebody dropped a Volkswagen Bug in the water. This huge blow up. It was insane, and it missed the frog by like a foot. I mean, it didn't even come close to eating it, but it tried to. And that was the only bite I had all day long on the first day. Was that one blow up that I didn't even get to set the hook on. Um, and I was like, a couple of my buddies called me and they're like, "Hey, I'm catching them on this over here. You should come down here." Like, I feel like I can win it where I am. Like, I feel like I'm in the spot that could win it, And I ran into Greg Blanchard a couple times, and he was doing the same thing I was. So I'm like, I know I'm on the right trail. I mean, Greg Blanchard wins there a lot. Greg Blanchard's thousands of his videos are from Clear
Mm.
Lake. Here I am coming from the East Coast, and I end up fishing 40 feet from this dude. You know what I mean? So I know I picked the right area. And we actually spoke in the parking lot afterwards, and and I said, dude, well, what happened? Because I think, I don't know if he even caught I think he caught one 15-inch fish the first day. And I'm like, that doesn't make me, feel better, but it doesn't make me feel as bad as what I thought I was doing,
Right.
But we talked in the parking lot, and I said, man, Greg, I'll tell you, dude, I think I was in the spot that would have won it. You know what I mean? I said, inside of where you were, I was punching all those mats. It just seemed right. Like, it seemed like that's where they should be. And he's like, I'll tell you what, he's like, 9 times out of 10, you would have probably came either winning it there or been in the top 5 for sure. So I'm like, he's like, dude, it's just the worst I've ever seen it here. I've never, ever gone like this and not caught fish, So
crazy.
the second day, oh, it's crazy, man. The second day, we got some sleep at night finally, but we did go have a few beers after that. So it was kind of sleep, more passed out kind of deal.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so got up in the morning and we went over to that first day we launched at Clear Lake State Park. I mean, it's famous. You launch out of Clear Lake State Park. If you want to go frogging, you want to go punching, that's the place. The second day we said, you know what? Let's roll over to Rattlesnake Island area. We'll go fish over there. It's a different vibe. It's more rocks and kind of offshore stuff and, a bunch of stuff like that. So we launched over there the second day. And then I realized once we got there and we saw the people unloading that the leaders for all the tournaments were all launching there. Cayman Rasmussen was there. He won most of it. I think Cayman won almost $19,000 that weekend between the West Coast Championship and the KBF stuff and the Chris Laird Memorial Tournament. So yeah, congratulations to Cayman. Killed it.
Time out. For people that didn't hear that, we're going to repeat it. The man won about $19,000 out of fucking kayaks. If you don't want to talk shit about kayaks, there you go, $19,000. You know how much he spent?
Yeah, he won.
Probably about $300.
Right? Yeah, I think he won $3,500 with one of the fish.
That's
Johnny, didn't he?
Yeah, he got. I think he won. It's like 15-5 or something between the tournament winnings and like 2 or 3 tournaments that he had won all going on at the same time, and then the one big fish that he caught was like a $3,500 fish or something. So it was like really close to 19 grand.
That's crazy.
Which was awesome. You know what I mean? So yeah, we launched out at Rattlesnake Island, and I seen all those dudes down there. I ended up catching 2 fish on the second day, so it made me feel like I was awesome, but they were only 15-inch fish, so I wasn't that awesome. But hey, I'll tell you what, like the scenery, like that place is amazing. It's beautiful out there. I mean, we were pulling into Clear Lake State Park the first morning, and I see, oh hey, look, there's a deer, and it's a mule deer, and it lifts its head up, and it's got this monster rack on it, right? And I'm like, oh my god, right? The mountains, you know what I mean? Hanging out with the boys you don't ever get to see. It was a great trip, man. And then, between the week leading up to that and a few days after that, I got to hang out with my daughter, my grandson, my son-in-law, and just get some great family time because we don't get to see them a lot. So that was awesome, dude. Like that whole trip was, even though the fishing was, well, I mean, it was fucking terrible for me, anyways. But it was just it was an altogether.
Fuck that mule deer. He's like, fuck that mule deer. Fuck them mountains. Fuck this scenery. Yeah. The fishing sucked. It only got better when I got to spend time with my family. Fuck Clear Lake. That place sucks. Yep.
I'll be back for redemption. There's no doubt about that. I will return next year for that tournament again. But yeah, like I said, we were facing like record low. People had never seen the lake that low before. I mean, I was fishing on the second day. I was fishing a boat dock, and the guy was standing on his boat dock, and I was standing up in my kayak, and this boat dock was up here around the top of my head. And he was drinking his coffee, had this beautiful boat on a boat lift. And I said, hey, man, that's a really nice boat. He's like, yeah, hell, I'd really like to use it, but my boat lift doesn't go low enough to get it down to where you are. So that dude has spent all year with his boat on the boat lift on his dock, drinking coffee on his dock.
That fucking sucks. Oh my God, that's
So,
crazy.
but I mean, the fish are there. I mean, Cayman proved it. Cody Henley proved it. Some of the other, the local hammers, we talked about earlier, the local hammers up there that you don't hear about on the national scene because they never leave California. That's a whole different animal in itself out there. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but they have a whole pro kayak tour out there already. And a lot of those dudes, they compete hardcore, but why would you ever leave California with like lakes like Otay and San Vicente and Hodges and Clear Lake and the Delta, the California Delta? I mean, that place is crazy. Berryessa, all those places. I mean, it's nuts out there. But
I mean,
anyways,
some of the distance they're traveling to those lakes
9-10
are
hours. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the distance that a majority of the southern anglers, and by south, I encompass the southeast and then Texas and Louisiana, all that. Like for them to go to some of their local tournaments is the same distance that a lot of us would travel to what we would consider a national tournament.
Absolutely.
10, 12 hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's one thing I like about our local trail is we meet people like me meeting Derek, and then you realize, Massachusetts is such a small state that, oh, dude, we only live like a half hour away. We can fun fish on weekends. We don't have tournaments and stuff. A lot of states, like, you guys can't do that with a lot of dudes in your trail because you guys are so spread out all over the place.
Well, see, not really. Down here where we are, I've got two local trails where I am in this area, CCKF and CKA. And so the majority of us fish both of those. And then we got Queen City, which is one of the largest grassroots trails in the country. They're in Charlotte. Yeah. So they're about 2.5 hours or so away. And most of their lakes are within an hour and a half to 2.5 hours of where I am. So we do have some people that fish theirs, and some of their folks fish ours. But we're just starting to kind of merge. We got the state championship coming up, and then Queen City has a tournament here at Falls in Jordan coming up in October. So there's a little bit of meshing going on, but that's for us. For example, for me to drive to some of the lakes that I say it's local. We got one in Raleigh, and then the other one's kind of based in Greensboro, which is about an hour to an hour and a half. So some of those lakes that they fish are an hour and a half away. That's a long drive for me.
Yep.
And we're lucky where we are in North Carolina. We have a ton, kind of like y'all, except our lakes are bigger. But we have a ton of bodies of water that are really close by that you can have 50, 60, 70 anglers on in a kayak tournament. And you can still fish it. So we're not spread out. That's the thing about the South, dude. There's a damn decent body of water within an hour's drive of anybody in South Carolina, North Carolina, I know, because I lived in both of those states, grew up in them.
Yep.
They're there. But again, now we're talking about California, and we're hearing all these lakes that they go to. It might be 8 or 9 hour drive. That ain't local.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. No 9 hour drive is local. For us, that's like going to what? Ohio? I think that was 9 hours.
Yeah. I consider 4 hours or less local for me. Just because I drive so much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anything further than like the Adirondacks north and anything like more south than New York, Jersey line.
Yeah.
That's no longer
I'll be in Canada in 4 hours, you know what I mean?
Oh, holy shit.
It's like anything below the Canadian border,
So Derek, technology is a huge piece of fishing in general right now. And this year especially, we go from seeing a few folks with forward-facing sonar to half the people in your local club that have never fished or only fished maybe one or two national tournaments have it. What kind of technology are you running on your boats, and how do you use it?
So I run Lowrance Active Target. I run 2 Lowrance units on my kayak. I run 2 FS9 Elites. One of them is dedicated just to forward-facing sonar, and the other one runs my mapping and my down scan and side scan and all that. I'll be honest, I love it, man. I love seeing technology moving forward. I love,
Mm-hmm.
that people are still pushing the envelope. Um, I I'm pretty thorough with it. I can fish pretty well with it. But I'll be honest with you, a lot of times the biggest advantage I think to forward facing sonar is your ability to find structure that you've never found before, no matter how many times you've been to lakes, no matter how many times you've been there. That forward facing sonar will help you discover the little tiny things that you've overlooked. This year in particular, I found a tree in a cove that I fish in all the time down on the Cape. Um, there's a 20-foot tall tree in the middle of this cove that I've never seen before. And
Hmm.
I've been all through that thing. And one day I was down there with my forward facing sonar, just chasing around some smallmouth. I said, shit, what the hell was that? And I looked back and I scanned back over there, and then woof, this whole tree comes out. And it's just
Huh.
loaded with fish swimming in and out of it. I said, well, what the fuck? Where did this thing come from? And then I drove over there, and I've been fishing that lake for years. And I drove over there, and it was happened to be flat glass calm that day. And I looked down about 5, 6 feet, and I could see just the very tip of the branches down there, sticking out. But I had never realized the size of that tree or even seen that tree. And I run side scan through all that, you know what I mean? But if you're looking away for a second, you miss it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If you're doing something, and that has now, I told a few people about it, and they went over to their live target or their, pan optics, and like, holy shit, look at this tree. You know what I mean? Like, dude, it's not like it just grew there. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
there for probably 100 years. But I think that's probably the coolest thing about the new technology is your ability to find structure quicker. You see it more detailed. You see how the fish are relating to it. Um, and then there's the whole elephant in the room. Does it make you a better fisherman? I suppose it does in some ways. Um, it makes you waste a shitload of time. Um, but one thing that I can admit is that you can find out if you have the right bait on very quickly with
Mm-hmm.
forward facing sonar. You see that fish out there, you throw it out there, that thing turns around and swims away just as fast as it possibly can. You need to tie on something else
Or go somewhere else.
or go somewhere else. Um, has it saved my ass before? Absolutely. I've run into situations where I've been offshore in 60 feet of water and found schools of smallmouth that are swimming 20 feet down, and then caught almost every one of them that I've seen. And then I've been out there and found the same thing and wasted 5 hours and never caught a fish.
Yeah, I don't have it. I have a buddy with a boat that has it. I've been on his boat quite a few times and been on a trolling motor and used it. And I for me it's the fish behavior.
Yeah, for
Seeing
sure.
how those fish are reacting. And again, I'm just using it, but like, all right, are these fish aren't biting, and you spend an hour
Yep.
there. The next time you go to not the same place, but anywhere, and you get there and the fish are reacting the same way, you're going to spend 30 minutes. I
Yep,
think
exactly.
I think the folks that learn it make it a lot more efficient, but for folks that think it's the magic pill to catching every
It's
bass
not.
you see, no.
No.
What I realized, the first thing I realized, is there's a lot more fucking fish down there than you
Dude,
ever would have thought. Now,
it's
are they
nuts.
bass?
It's nuts.
You don't know exactly what they are. Now, once you
Right.
get like the pros, some of the pros can look at a fish and they go, that's a bass, that's a catfish. They can you get enough time, you can determine it. But the amount of fish in an area,
it blows your mind.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And the amount of fish that roll up to you, that come out of nowhere 100 miles an hour and stop right at your lure and just follow it all the way back to the boat. And then they're like, go. It's crazy. It's so amazing. To me, fish behavior is the most unknown thing about fishing that we have as anglers. It's fish behavior because we can't see everything. It's not like a deer. When we go deer hunting, we can really start to dial in how they move, where they move, what they're doing. We can get in that perfect spot. Well, with fishing, that perfect spot might be here today at 2:00 on Saturday, and then the next 2 months, you couldn't catch a fish there to save your life. It really does get us into that fish behavior side of it, where we start to see a lot more of that, because fish behavior is, in my opinion, the majority of fish behavior when you're talking to anglers, 99% of it is anecdotal. It's all this happened this day. This is what I caught. This is what I saw. This is what I felt. But there's no facts behind it. It's so fishing is so anecdotal right now. This forward-facing sonar is getting us to the point we can really start to dial in and figure that shit out. Figure out fish behavior. I enjoy that part of it.
I think it's answering a bunch of questions we've always had as an angler. You know, where are those big ones when you don't see them pulled up? Where do they go in these small bodies of water that we fish?
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure. And then when you do run across a school of stupid ones and you have that forward-facing sonar on, and you can just follow them around and literally catch every one of them in that school, then it makes it all worth it. Yeah. But you need to find some stupid ones, because there's a lot of smart ones down there.
I remember the first time I went striper fishing with you, and you had it plugged in. You were like, "Come here, come tie up. Look at this." And you turned that thing, and dude, it lit up like Christmas. And I was just like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, when you're scanning around and you see hundreds, literally hundreds of striped bass around you in 6 feet of water, and they're up to 25 pounds. It's pretty impressive with that. You know, you scan around with that thing and it's just this big. You see the whole fish silhouette. You know what I mean? And you can say, "Oh, Jesus, that's a 20-pounder cast of that thing." You know, it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Do you think in next year? Let's just take next year, for instance, because there's probably going to be 2 to 4 times. I'm just throwing fucking numbers out my ass right now. 2 to 4 times more anglers on a national tournament scene that have it versus that had it this past year in 2022.
Absolutely.
Do you think more tournaments are going to be won on the kayak side with some kind of forward-facing sonar, or more going to be won like fishing Drew Gregory style?
I would hope Drew Gregory style, but I have a feeling that you're going to see a lot more wins with forward-facing sonar, because of the simple fact is, like you say, the dudes that are winning, whether they're using it this year or not, that are winning, dudes are going to see it on their kayak and say, "Okay, he has it. I need it to beat him at his own game." And like you said, the numbers double from people. Look at it 2 years ago when hardly anybody had it. Yeah. 1 or 2 dudes had forward-facing sonar.
A handful.
That's what I'm saying. And then they won tournaments, and I've talked to some of them. They weren't even using it at that time or at that lake. And then they say, "Oh, that dude caught him with forward-facing sonar. Now I'm going to get it." And it happened that way. I mean, whether we like it or not, it's human nature. You see somebody successful, sometimes you want to have the same equipment, or you want the same opportunity, so you buy the same equipment. And it is what it is. Nothing wrong with that. But I think that you'll see it, the number of guys without it now cut in half to number of guys that have it next year, double.
Yeah.
What was the category? You were one of the first people up here that was running forward facing, and I
I think
think
I
we
think
saw.
Conan I think Conan is really the one that sold me on it. He bought it, um, and we were somewhere, and he's sent me this video of this bait ball of shad swimming across in front of his kayak on the active target. And I literally picked my phone up and I started looking at it and I bought it. I mean, it was impressive. You know what I mean? It's um,
I
just
would say a lot.
knowing
Yeah,
what's capable.
So we're
I would say
talking you and Matt were, say, two of the first five guys running forward facing up here in Mass. Yeah, dude, 90% of the people watching you and Matt tear it up in a year were like, well, I might as well buy the fish finder. It's not gonna hurt, you know?
The funniest part about that though is that both of us kind of feel the same way. Like we don't like glue ourselves to it either. You know what I mean? I
No.
mean, I use it to find structure a lot. And here's one of the reasons why. It says that thing is crazy loud under the water. Um, Patron, if you
you hear
ask
that a
Anna
lot. Yeah.
Patron, they all were at one of the houses, I think a Dakota Lithium house, and they had threw a kayak in the pool, and everybody jumped in the pool, and they turned on the forward-facing sonar, and they could hear it in the pool loud as hell. So that kind of like opened my eyes to like, because when you pull up with forward-facing sonar and you run into a school of fish, sometimes those fish swim away just as fast as they possibly can, because I think they know that that tick 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 ticking is dangerous to them, and they take off. Some of the fish are stupid. They're like us, you know what I mean? They just hang out like, "What's up, dude?" You know what I mean? And then, oh shit, here comes the sicko. I'm gonna eat that. You know what I mean? And then game over.
Well, it's survival. Us as humans, our survival instincts suck. We are the most advanced minded life form on this planet. Yet our survival instincts are the absolute worst compared to any other living organism. And bass are survivalists. They have been on this planet a lot longer than we have.
For sure.
And like we have seen it through lures, how the Alabama rig and all these any lure, you know, their survival instincts kick in. And there was a study, I think it's done in Illinois, Indiana, where they took these fish, and it was done over a couple of years. You can find it. I've referenced it on here before. They took fish, and they had ponds where they caught fish and took fish out, caught fish and released them. The fish were spawning. The offspring of the fish that were taken out and eaten or whatever, right? So cool, you keeping your five and taking them home and eating. The fish that were taken out, the offspring of those fish were less likely to bite than the fish that were caught and released. So
Yep.
there's some inherent, you know, there's learning
Right.
in there. It's survival
Yep.
learning. It goes into that. So we're going to see it with forward facing. I love the technology. It does give us a whole nother perspective. And yes, do you catch an extra fish or two? Of course, because you're fishing where fish are, not where they ain't, because you know
Right.
for certain. It's easier to read than your side scan if you don't know how to look at that stuff. I like the technology. I like where it's going, but I also think that it's time of year where that forward facing is going to play a knot, and you're going to have some people on that forward facing sonar, you know, in the spawn or pre-spawn that just aren't catching the fish because they're dialed in on that, and those folks up in the bank or sight fishing are catching the fish. To me, in my perspective, for any type of fishing, it's going to come down to that time of year. Now you get into summer. I don't know shit about the northern lakes up there except from what I watch or listen to people talk about. But down here in the summertime, it's an offshore game. Can you go up there and catch a big fish or two in the mornings on my lake specifically? Yes, you can. But to fill your limit and to get that bag that competes, you have to go offshore. You're just and we don't have river systems. My lakes
Right.
are big retention ponds. I mean, that's what they are.
Right.
It's hard. You're not going to be able to compete. So that's where that forward facing somewhere. I think there's a time and a place where it comes earlier in the year. It's not going to play later in the year. It is going to play. It's a circumstance. I mean, but
Sure.
it's just it's interesting. I love where it's going. I love that that people are putting it on kayaks. I wanted it at some point. But to me, it opens for me as somebody who I worked at a fish hatchery. My senior year of high school, my first period class was working at a fish hatchery. If that tells you how fucking country I am. And I got to see bass behavior. Earlier, you were talking about the big swim baits and how fish were eating the swim baits that were smaller than the fish are smaller than the swim bait. They are savages. They are savages. When they would be fry, they'd be in the same pond. And then after, we'd have to take them out because the parents guarding the fry in that pond would start eating all the fry.
Yep.
They would start eating their babies. And then we had to put them in these holding tanks where they were fingerlings before they got transferred to a pond where they feed the hell out of them to give them big enough to go put in, But so many times when the fingerlings were in these little holding tanks, you would see two bass with a tail. Because two bass swam at each other to eat each other head on, and the one with the bigger mouth won, but they both died. So, I mean, they are savages. They are geared to survive, eat, make babies, and live. That's their sole goal. That's all they know. They don't know anything else. Nate, you don't have anything to add on that? I was waiting on you to jump in.
No,
your guest co-host. You were supposed to help me.
Up here, it's kind of different. Our lakes aren't as big, so I mean, in the summer, you can definitely still hang with the guys offshore. I mean, for me, this whole forward-facing sonar argument, it depends on what kind of angler you are in the long run. Because, it helps you, it helps Matt, but even before this shit, you guys were offshore fishing rock piles and stuff like that. If you're not an offshore angler, if you're somebody who's up in the slop punching, in the summer, I say if that's your strong suit, you stick to that. You don't, go out there and base it all off this fish finder, and if it can see the fish, it can catch it, because at the end of the day, that's not how it works.
Well, let's throw Drew Gregory back out. The dude he wins tournaments. He's in the running, and you can see it though. You get him on a body of water where there's no skinny water for him to get up in, and he struggles. But any body of water that's got some kind of river system in there, I mean, he's going to catch his fish. The man has never thrown a Cinco in his life. He might be the only competitive bass angler on the fucking face of this planet who has never thrown a Cinco. I mean, he's got 3 rods on his boat and he throws the same 3 things, but he's successful at it. He finds his fish and he can catch them.
Yep.
But it's also something to say about being somewhat well-rounded, that when you get on a lake that doesn't have that, you can take your ass out there and you can fish structure if you got to fish it. And Nate, you brought up the next point. See, Nate, you know what? Fuck Alex. Alex is gone. Nate, you're the new co-host, except you got to turn the TV off. Are you watching football?
No.
You got to turn the TV off. If we're going to kick Alex off of this, one, you got to be better at social media, especially TikTok. And 2, you got to be able to create the really nice thumbnails and bullshit Alex does. If you can't do that, you're fired, and I'll bring Alex back. But that does go back.
On the computer. I got to borrow my girls just to do this podcast tonight. I am the wrong person for thumbnails and shit.
All right, Nate's fired because this podcast will fucking fail. Because me and him would not be good at different things. What kind of angler are you? Are you good a mix of both, Derek, or are you offshore? I mean, you can fish both, obviously. We know that. People know that if they followed you. But what do you prefer? What do you like to do? Do you like to be shallow, beating the bank, pitching, or do you like to get out deep and crank them and jig them?
Man, I'll tell you, it's a mix of both, really. Um,
Get the fuck out of here.
there's
You're
days that
always offshore, guy.
there's days that I would rather be punching all day long than go anywhere. But then there's always in the back of my mind that those big schools of fish live offshore, and that's where I like to be as well. So during the day, you're gonna find me in both places for sure.
I feel like the only time I've ever seen you like rolling the bank or shallow in a tournament is like you already have 87 inches and you are cruising by me going, I'm looking for a giant.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, I mean that too, and that I disappear a lot during tournaments. I'm
Yeah,
all over the
yeah.
place. So you might not see me running the bank, but it doesn't mean I didn't run the right stretch of bank and then just pull off and go somewhere else and fish. You know what I mean? I know that if I'm running the bank, I know what I'm looking for. I'm running a specific type of bank, specific depth, and just kind of uh, running that pattern. So you might not see me on the bank. You might see me on the bank all day. You never know. Um,
I know definitely up here when you're fishing MAKB and you look out and you see a silhouette in the middle of the lake,
yeah, it's
you got a
usually me.
90% chance it's you, Matt, or John Ferreira out
Yeah.
there.
Well, I mean, I think that I've known something that I've learned from traveling all over the place is that big schools of fish live offshore, and some of those fish never ever come to the bank. And a lot of times, those big schools of fish way offshore, especially up here in the Northeast, they don't get hardly as much pressure as the bank fish do. So they might be just a little bit more readily available to bite something. Um, but fishing offshore is cool, man. I mean, I know that from being all over the country that if I run into some fish offshore, it's usually going to be a whole limit's worth, and they're usually going to be bigger for me most of the time. Um, so yeah, I tend to do a lot of offshore fishing, but I think probably my favorite thing to do, if the bite is right, is to be punching them. I mean, there's something about a 2 ounce weight going through a mat and then feeling like you're stuck on the bottom and it starts to pull back. Um, that's fun.
As a good friend of the podcast, Blaine Upton termed on KBN last year when he won the whatever fucking big bass tournament he won down at Santee. When you punch and you set the hook and your line sings the song of our people,
Yep.
that dolphin sound, but he calls it the song of our
Yep.
people. Like, there's
Yep.
some I'm none of my lakes here have punching grass. I don't do that shit. So
Yep.
that's just something I'm not good at. But I'll tell you this, I was always a bank beater. But the way now I say that, I grew up throwing DD22s and Carolina rigging, but I wasn't very good at it. The folks that it was good to have, and if I knew what to do or where to go, I would do it. But in general, I was small pond fishing growing up, and I beat the bank. That's what we did. When I got up here in a kayak tournament, you get 75 kayaks out here, and 30 of them launch from one ramp. Shit, you can't beat the bank. Like I'm fast.
Yep.
If I'm bank fishing, I'm going. Well, hell, you'd fish 100 yards and then you have to skip 300 yards to get to the next bank that somebody's already fished. And so
For sure.
really quickly last year, I was like, well, shit, I got to start fishing offshore more. And that's what kind of got me to going out there and doing that kind of stuff. And that's what I did. Now I like it. But, being versatile is a big thing in fishing. It's being proficient in different ways to present lures. It's not, you don't have to be perfect at all of it, but when the fucking time calls for you to go throw a crankbait, you can go throw a crankbait. You have the gear and the knowledge. When it calls to whatever, I mean, it's having the skill set and the knowledge to know when to do it and how to do it. To me, that's the biggest thing with basketball. That's why the pros are so good, especially nowadays.
sure.
You don't see any pros that do one thing like you did back in the early 2000s and 90s.
Yep.
You don't see that. They can do it all. Now, they might, hell, just this past year, you hear podcasts about guys going and getting shaky heads or bald head jigs. And or let me back up. You hear pros now that don't have a spinning reel or didn't have a spinning reel until they lost a tournament. They went and got a fucking spinning reel or didn't know how to tie a leader. I mean, stuff like that. These are guys that their livelihood lives off of that, and they still are learning. So it's just being proficient in it.
For sure.
Well, Derek, we've gone 2 hours and 10 minutes, and this is about the time that we start to wrap it up. And this is the only time of this podcast that's scripted. Nate, did you get the text I sent you? Oh my Lord, this man ain't even got his damn phone on him. Derek, I'm so sorry for
I got it. I got it.
Second rate, dude. Second rate over here. This dude over here.
I should have had my 8-year-old son on here.
All right, am I asking these? Is that why you texted it to me?
No, I texted it to you so you would be able to. Yes, that's why I fucking texted it to you, Nate. Damn it! All right, Derek. We're gonna get into the Bass and Brew shotgun round. All right, and now when we ask a question, there ain't no thinking, there ain't no this or that or whatever. You answer the question. Just answer it. There ain't no thinking. And me and Nate are gonna switch off. And if I don't know how many we got here, and I might throw some extras in. And Nate, if you got an extra you want to throw in, you throw it in. But we're going to start. I'm going to let Nate start. Nate, don't ask the last question in this little text I sent you. That's my question. And so anyway, just start going, Nate. If you're going to mess something up, I'll let you know. But you go ahead and start it off, buddy.
All right. Crocs versus flip-flops.
Crocs.
Hell yes.
I would have taken you as a flip-flop guy.
No, dude. Flip-flops should be thrown in the trash bin and burned alive.
I wear flip-flops 99% of the time out of the year, unless my wife makes me put on shoes. Matter of fact, I'm actually barefoot. I have gone to the store so many times I cannot count. And I walk into the store, I'm like, motherfucker, I don't have no shoes on.
Yep.
It just happens. But when I go fishing, what happened, Nate?
We don't do that up here in the north too often.
Cody does, and he's y'all's neighbor.
Dude, that man lives in some back-ass country, lives in Virginia or Maryland, wherever he's at.
Merlin.
He's
but
like
anyway,
he lives off in the swamp on his own.
My problem with I wear flip-flops when I go on a real boat, but when I'm in the kayak, when I'm trying to haul my damn kayak, my Hobie 14 full of shit up the ramp, when your flip-flops get wet, they're leather, and your feet slide out of them the whole way up. I hate that shit. Mm-hmm. I hate it. I can't stand it. So yeah, I'm a Croc, no socks. All right, Nate. Next question.
Pineapple on pizza.
What's that?
Yes or no?
Yes or no? Pineapple on pizza.
Absolutely not.
You're really disappointing me. I thought we were buddies.
Nate, don't talk shit. This man has mentored you. You better be careful. You ain't gonna learn shit from here on out.
It's all right. I still got Matt.
It's all right. I already showed him like my secrets right from the first spot, so
you haven't let me go home with the secret bait. I'm all set.
You haven't been giving him no $250 glide baits, have you?
No, he gave me $150 rod though.
I did give him a $150 rod the other day. St. Croix.
Nice. Mojo Gas. That brings us to our next question, and this is a good question for you, Brundle, because you can go ahead and do your plug thing on this question. Would you rather spend more on a Derek Brundle Signature Series yak rod, or would you rather spend more on a reel?
That's actually a good question. Because one doesn't live without the other. But anyways, you said no thinking, so the rod.
Okay. Now you want to go ahead and talk about what your favorite rod is, real quick.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite rod is obviously my Signature Series Rip Series rod from Yak Rods.
And you can get a discount on that using what code?
DB10, DB10.
All right.
So what application is this rod? What application
Jerkbait.
is the rod for?
It's
Ah,
designed specifically for a jerkbait, but it does really well, like with a lot of other things, with a tube and some other things. Kind of a multi-purpose blank, but it really does well with a jerkbait.
mm. Do y'all remember when Russ Snyder's last year put out the name for his custom rod he was making, and like 1 million people said the Russ reach around?
No. No, I don't.
Russ's reach around.
Next question. Next question.
Can you expect me to read after that? You gotta give me a second. In a 3-hour session, would you rather
Have a
5
reach
2
around
pounders?
or
Yeah. Would you rather 5 2-pounders or 1 7-pounder?
I'm interested on this answer right here.
3-hour session.
What was the scenario?
5 2-pounders or 1 7-pounder in a 3-hour session.
7-pounder all day long.
I feel like that 3-hour session is very important in that.
Yeah, if you had said anything like during the day, I would have said 5 2-pounders. But just for a 3-hour session, hell yeah, for a 7-pounder all day long, for sure.
Well, I don't know why Alex put 3 hours in there. I really don't. But when you think about kayak fishing or bass boat fishing, when you go out for 3 hours, that time goes by like that.
Dude, it's not enough. That's why I don't do it.
Yeah. But
I say it all the time. The quickest 8 hours of my life is fishing a tournament. The slowest 5 minutes of my life is that 6:55 to 7 o'clock before
Yes.
fucking lines in when you're sitting at your spot.
Oh my God. And I'm a anxious, nervous kind of person before competition. Like in football in high school, I used to throw up during stretching and warm up drills and all this before games in football would throw up. And I'm a very anxious kind of person. My stomach's all fucked up, like I'm scared to fart because I'm scared I'm going to shit myself first thing in the morning. And I'm drinking coffee and I'm just so like, ugh. And then when it's time to go, I'm going 5.5 miles an hour in my Hobie pedaling because I'm a dumbass. All right, next question.
You're a big Sanko guy, so this is right up your alley.
What, a big what guy?
Sanko.
Bitch, it's an E, not an A.
It's a Sanko.
It's a Cinco.
It's a true. If you want to get technical, for me, it's a true center stick by X-Zone. But keep going.
You can tell this man is a professional.
Hold on, Derek. I got you. Shout out to the Maulers and X-Zone.
Oh yeah.
So wacky rig or Texas?
Wacky most of the time.
Okay.
Do you Nico it or flick shake it, anything like that?
So yeah, most of the time it's like on a Gamakatsu G Finesse wacky hook, which is like a flick shake weighted wacky hook.
Yeah, the small one. Yeah, so I hate fishing a Cinco weightless. I either put and this ain't no fucking lie. I use roofing nails.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you laughing, Nate? Why are you laughing?
Because I'm reading some of these questions and I can't wait to ask a few.
So I use bona fide roofing nails when I Nico rig mine because it's got that big head, and so that big head, if you're on rock or stuff, is ticking and tanking, and you lose so many shits on that thing. Those roofing nails, I buy a box of those and they last for fucking ever. And matter of fact, I leave them out my little Hobie tray so to get rusted, and they never fly out. They never fly out. So I use roofing nails, but I like to have some kind of sink on my Cinco. I'm an impatient. I'm impatient, man. I just can't. I can't do it.
I put the ones with rattles in it when I throw like an eco rig. I'll put the little nail weight with the rattle to give it a little bit extra.
We ain't all rich to be paying $30 for 5 rattling Nico weights like you, Nate. That's a lot of words.
I'm just, Joe from Old Glory was good to me. I probably won't throw much more of them anymore.
Who the fuck is that?
Who's Joe Brown?
Who the fuck is Joe Brown? All right.
Slow jams or hype music?
Slow jams or what?
Hype music.
Oh man, I got hype music on the way out, and then country music all day long.
Now, what's your definition of hype music? Let's hear this. Every one of us got it. What's your tournament song?
Every tournament starts off with "All I Do Is Win."
Really, DJ Khaled. Okay.
Yep. Every single tournament starts off the same exact way. When I launch, I play that, and then as soon as that's over, my Pandora goes straight to country music.
I love that we all do that. Do you have a song you listen to before every tournament, Paul?
Hell no. I don't turn the radio on. I don't want to talk to nobody. Like, I want fucking silence before, during, and after.
I'm Joe Walsh. Life's been good to me so far. Every tournament.
Hey, you know what? I've got his original vinyl right here behind me. There, somewhere. I've got the original vinyl. Anyway, I didn't take you for a country person there, Brundle. Interesting.
Oh yeah.
What kind of old school country, new country?
All of it, yeah.
Just fucking country.
Yeah. Yep.
Dude,
I mean, I lived in Texas. I lived in South Carolina, Virginia.
Oh, where's South Carolina?
I lived right outside of Charleston.
Bo, I was born and raised in South Carolina.
I lived in Ladson for a while. Goose Creek
area.
I
know where Ladson is. You ain't never heard of my town. It was McBee, South Carolina. We got 700 people. The town's 1 square mile, and only 200 of 700 people live in actual town. We got to claim the other ones because that's all we got.
Yeah, because just proximity.
Bo, who the fuck knows? It's South Carolina. I can't nobody keep up with that state. All right, I got the next one here.
Nate, come on. This is the one I was laughing about. This was the one I was enjoying asking him.
All right, go ahead, Nate.
Brundle, in all seriousness, I want you to look me dead in the eyes, and I hope your wife is asleep when I'm asking you this. Have you ever eaten beaver?
Of course.
So did you have it like barbecued or hashed?
It was barbecued.
Huh.
You've actually eaten a real beaver?
He said the real beaver.
No, well, I sure as hell ain't ate a stuffed one. Hey, listen. I got some hillbilly ass friends, you know what I'm saying? I've eaten some weird shit.
Did you like it?
No.
See, why? Tell me why, because I think I know why. 2 reasons.
Kind of.
Was it
like,
too hairy?
No, it's kind of stringy. I don't know. It's a weird texture. I'm a big texture person.
It's like overcooked beef. Is the way
it's weird.
It's kind of tough.
No, it's just weird.
It's stringy and tough, but it is actually delicious. If crock pot beaver ain't good as cooking that shit on like a wood smoker, it gets different.
I gave it one shot, never again.
Oh my word! Come back down here. We'll cook you some good beaver. Nate, have you ever eaten?
You want me to come eat your beaver? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
All right.
We'll have to catch one.
I've eaten beaver, but never a real one. No.
Well, a stuffed animal. I mean, what are you doing over there?
I mean, dude,
They don't make faux beaver. I mean, they don't make faux
Well,
beaver, do they?
well, hey, Derek,
it's 2022. They do make some fake beavers.
look, Derek, apparently he's eating fake beaver because all the fur from that stuffed animals gets stuck on his face.
Dude, it's like the Beyond Burger, it's Beyond Beaver.
Beyond beaver.
Beyond beaver.
So this next, Jesus, does that sell him with the Russ Snyder's reach around? So this next question, I'm going to change a little bit because I don't think you know who Alex Rudd is. That's the guy who runs this show. So I'm going to change it to somebody who you do know.
No, you can't know this. Nope. You can add this question. You can add that question, but you have to ask this one specifically. It's a specific reason. And they obviously don't listen to the fucking podcast, and I'm pissed at you about it. Because ask the fucking question as I write it.
So, all right, is Alex Rudd overrated or underrated?
Overrated.
All right, that's a fair question.
Yes, this is the first time. Hell, yes.
Now we're gonna do this with somebody who's a friend of the show.
Let me ask this question, and then you ask yours. All right, we asked that one. Derek, do you eat largemouth bass?
No.
Have you eaten largemouth bass?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you eat it? Are you just like afraid of it, or what's the deal?
Honestly, I'll be honest. I don't really eat any fish anymore. My wife doesn't eat it, so I be in here cooking it for myself, and then I gotta make 2 meals. You know what I'm saying? It's like.
Yeah.
I'm lazy as shit, dude. You know what I mean? I just throw a pizza in and call it a night.
Hey, I get that because the only way to me to eat any kind of freshwater fish is to fry it. And if I got to cook something separate than that, look, it already takes me 85 dishes and 18 pounds of flour to fry fish. So if I got to cook somebody else some shit, they ain't eating tonight. That's my mantra.
That's right.
All right, Nate, go ahead, House. Ask your question.
You didn't know who Alex Rudd was, so we're going to ask you that same question, overrated or underrated, of somebody who's a friend of the show. Wild Bill from Hooks at Hoodlums. Overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow. Wild Bill has been absolutely tearing up his local Connecticut wild
he has.
Thing. This man has look.
He's going for AOI.
There's a point in one's life where you catch fire, and that's the point he's at right now. And then all of a sudden it's gonna go, and then boom. And then Nate is just gonna be over there like this. Sad little beard, and Bill's gonna be standing over top of him, yelling at him. I'm gonna like it. I'm gonna show up for that.
When that day comes, I'm shaving the beard. I'll be there, bald faced.
You remember he said that.
Look, no shave never. No shave never, Nate. No shave never. Don't be shaving no fucking beards out here now. Look, Wild Bill has been tearing that shit up. He's a prime candidate that needs to step into some MAKB stuff. He needs to step into some real competition outside of his little home lakes that he gets to fish all the time. And we need to see it. But props to him because he's been catching he's been dominating the shit he's winning too. He ain't just squeaking by. It's kind of impressive. I've been trying to get him on the podcast here for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and he's always got something coming up. I mean, the bitch ain't been busy his whole day in his life, and then when I ask him on the podcast, he ain't got time. All right. Any more surprise questions from you, Mr. Chagnon?
Huh? What was that?
you got to pay attention. If you're going to be a guest co-host, you have to pay attention
My
100% of
phone
the
went
time.
off. I couldn't hear you.
Well, obviously, when I sent you this text, you didn't go, oh, shit, let me go see what Paul sent me. Any more surprise questions for Mr. Brundle?
Yeah, I got one for you.
Fire away, Hoss.
Pound for pound or fish for fish? Brundle, who's, in your opinion, besides yourself, the best fisherman in the Northeast?
Matt Conant.
Okay.
Wow. Fuck Ken Wood.
Oh, Ken's right there, but he's had a lot of years to prove himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's
in this
old.
tournament scene.
Yeah, he is old.
He is old school. He's old as shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, Matt Conant being, new to the sport, quote unquote, new to the kayak sport. I mean,
Yeah.
the first year he came in, he won Rookie of the Year. He's the only person in all of KBF history to ever win the KBF Triple Crown. Which he didn't even get a trophy for that, which I think is kind of stupid, but whatever. So
no money, no recognition, no nothing. Like there was nothing to.
I mean, he cashed a seriously fat check, and he's got like the separate little medallions and shit. But
yeah,
I mean, you
but
think
nothing
if you
for
win
that.
the whole Triple Crown, the unachievable as it was made out to be in the kayak world, he's got nothing to show for it. But that dude, I'm telling you, that dude, I've seen it with my own eyes, has caught more fish than anybody I've ever met in my life.
I've seen that dude sit 5 feet away from us and catch fish on the exact same lure.
Does it all the time, like it's nothing. I believe he's probably the best fisherman in the Northeast, in the kayak for sure.
Now put your name back in it. You still think the same?
I still think Matt.
Okay.
I want to see a fish off. It needs to be a 3-day tournament, 3 different bodies of water, and you don't know what they are. This is what we need. We need a Brundle Conant fish
I'm
off.
in.
3 different bodies of water, 3 different days, and you don't know what you're going to fish until the morning of the tournament.
I would be in, and so would Matt.
I know y'all would. I would love to see that shit.
Do that in a heartbeat.
Hell yes. And Matthew Conant ain't no newcomer no more. Y'all quit saying that shit. He has solidified his stance in the kayak fishing world.
All right. Now you got to tell the story about the ride back from the NC when he called himself an underdog or whatever, or a dark horse.
Yes, I want to hear this story. This sounds awesome.
Wait, what are we talking about now, dude? It's 2.5 hours past my bedtime now.
I remember I remember you telling us a story about driving back from the NC with him. And he's like, yeah, dude, it's weird, like, being a dark horse in this game. And you were like, dude, you just won the national championship, the trail championship, and the challenge championship. You are no longer a dark horse.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we were coming back, it's kind of crazy, right? So we're down at the national championship, and it was Matt, myself, and Rob Pagnano all traveled down together in the same vehicle. You thought dropping me off at 2 was crazy. We dropped Rob off at 1 before Matt dropped me off at 2:30. It's crazy. But I mean, Rob don't have nothing to worry about. The dude's 6'4", 350 pounds. You don't mess with a dude like that. You just turn around and walk away. You see that dude in the dark, you think he's here to murder you.
In Alabama, size don't matter in Alabama.
That dude eats you alive anyways. But we're coming back, and he's like, oh, he's just talking about, how, nobody knew where he's coming from. And, because you could go back to a long time ago, when I was in the 10 the first time, when we did an interview with Scott Butcher, and he had said to me, "Who do you think is going to be the next guy to be looking out for?" And he wasn't even fishing in kayaks yet. And I said, Matt Conant, when he becomes a kayak angler and gets on this scene, you watch it. He's gonna win everything. And then a year and a half later, he went and won everything. But nobody knew who he was. You know what I mean? Nobody knew who he was. So he was just kind of talking. He's the same old Matt. I mean, he's been my daughter calls him Uncle Matt. You know what I mean? He's been around since the beginning of time for me. I mean, freshman in high school, we were fishing together, and he just, nobody knew who he was, and he just went down and just kind of grabbed everybody by the face and just kind of slapped them around. You know what I mean? Like it was nothing. And one of the things that really kind of, I don't say it got to him, but it kind of got worked out in the end. It was that everybody the whole time was talking about Jackson Orr. Great kid, does great things for the sport, but they didn't even send a camera boat over to like watch Matt fish on the final day when he was leading by 12 inches going into the thing. You know what I mean? Like never even said anything to him. You know what I mean? It's just kind of strange, and that was more of the topic of discussion coming back, and it's still kind of is. I mean, it was mentioned once or twice that he won the Triple Crown, but ever since then, there's never been a mention of it ever. If somebody down south, one of the KBF's Golden Boys won, you would still see posts about it to this day. But I think because someone out of the Northeast won it, that it's just been very quiet. And again, like I said, that dude still has got no trophy or anything that says I won the Triple Crown. Nothing.
That's man. That's how shit happens like that. But all right.
So anyways, what other questions you got?
We have one. Nate, do you have any more surprise questions?
I'm good.
Thank God, because we'd be here another 45 minutes. Look, Derek, Nate told me you go to bed early. And look, I go to bed early too. There are days in this house, I'm in bed and asleep before my wife gets the kids in bed. So I go to bed early as hell, except when we record this podcast, I stay up way too late and I feel like shit next morning. But this shit, I don't even know why I'm talking about it right now. Last question. This is the most important question. This is what, besides being a shitty podcast, this is what Bass and Brews podcast is known for. As anglers, most of us like sandwiches. All right. And now this question can make or break your career because it has ended careers of other people. Shit, like three weeks after we asked this to Josh on Dark Waters, he quit his podcast. I guess his answer sucked. What are your top 3 sandwich proteins?
I'll be honest with you. I hardly ever eat on the water. I don't eat lunch. But I'll tell you my favorite sandwich of all time.
You're starving. You're starving. You need to make 3 sandwiches. What are the top 3 proteins you putting on them, Derek?
Peanut butter. So, like,
this is okay. 1, peanut butter. Let's go. 2.
Ham. I don't know. I mean, I'm not really a big sandwich guy.
Bo, you got to answer the question. Quit thinking. We'll talk about it after you answer.
Roast beef.
Okay. So I will accept peanut butter. That peanut butter is a protein unless my 8-year-old son is listening, and peanut butter ain't no fucking protein. He got to have meat on his. But peanut butter is a stretch. It does have protein, but it's not as bad as cheese, which was an answer we've gotten before, just cheese. And we also got an answer of spinach.
To be fair, for Popeye the Sailorman, there was a lot of protein in spinach.
for a vegetable, there's a lot in it, but it ain't a fucking protein. It's a leafy vegetable. Jeez, golly, Nate, don't try to stand up for your Yankee friends with shitty
you ever
answers.
seen Popeye, man? He
Why?
chugs a
Who
thing of
answered
spinach
spinach?
and bang. Yeah, who answered spinach?
Bailey from Serious Angler, Bailey Egbert, who was also on a fucking tear in the kayak scene this year.
Absolutely.
He put some shit down, but yeah. Well, look, that's the last question we have, unless Nate comes up with something weird like eating beaver again. I don't know where that came from. He made that shit up, but no, I'm just kidding. We added that in because I gotta put a country spin on this podcast. But Derek, thank you so much for coming on, man. Nate, thank you for setting this up. This was awesome. Derek, you're somebody I've been wanting to get on for a while, and I really didn't know how to reach out. And then obviously with Nate, I was like, Nate, you know what? Ask Derek to come on, and you came on. So I appreciate it, because when I first got into kayak fishing, you were one of the first ones that I saw through YouTube and some of the stuff in the kayak scene. You're one of the first people that came up, and you're very genuine. How you interact in the camera and how you fish and all that stuff. It's just real. It's easy to follow, and it's fun, and it's informative. So I can't thank you enough for coming on. I'm really appreciative, and thank you. This is your chance now to holler out any of your sponsors for the 1800th time tonight. Holler them out. This is your time to shine. Tell us who supports you. Give them their plugs and stuff here, and we'll close it out, buddy.
Nate, appreciate you holding up the Raise Eyewear. Yeah, Raise Eyewear is a big supporter. Yak Rods, New Canoe, Motor Guide, the Bomb Anchor, X-Zone Lures.
I got a Da Bomb anchor, and I got the one with the fucking chain on it.
The whole ball and chain.
I didn't want that little pussy fucking rat wire thing. I want a chain, baby. I got that chain. I love that thing, but let me tell you something.
Legit.
I'm scared my damn anchor whiz is gonna break one day. I'm gonna be out there with my damn hands wrapping that shit around my damn foot or my big toe or something.
Yep.
But yeah. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh, no worries. No, the Bomb is awesome. Cross kicks. I mean, I know we talked about the Crocs earlier. Crocs kicks. If you ever put one on, you'll never buy another pair of Crocs in your life. I'm telling you right now. You want to talk about traction? Bringing up them muddy boat ramps. Cross kicks are where it's at. I've been running them for like 3 years now. Awesome water shoes. Yak Gadget, and I mean, Amped Outdoors, man. I love my lithium batteries. I mean, Amped, they've been with me since day one. So yeah, I mean, shout out to all those guys. My wife, I can't thank her enough for her support. She's always, I think she's been sick of me after 27 years. She just like, hey, go do your fucking thing. You know what I'm saying? Go do your thing. So yeah, I mean, and of course, my wife's name is Danielle.
Danielle.
Yeah, absolutely. She went and closed the door because she's like, yeah, whatever you guys said. But, no, it's the truth. And like my whole family has always supported me since then. My daughter, my parents, my brother, my sister, both sisters. It's been an all around good thing for me. And as far as being genuine or whatever, this is just something that I love. I love talking about it. I love doing it. And like I said, I really value the friendships I've made along the way. You know what I mean? It's been pretty cool to meet all these dudes from around the country, talk fishing with them, end up close friends with them. Like Nate said, we fish on the weekends. When we're taking time off, we go fishing. Time off from fishing is fishing. Stuff like that.
Well, you got to take a day off to go fishing with Nate, because it takes at least 6 hours for him to get out the words for you to understand them. Slowest
Well,
talking
not
Yankee in
only
America.
that, and it takes them 6 hours to catch one fish, so you have to wait around for that to happen, and then you can go.
You're teaching me, though. You're teaching me. I'm learning. I got 2 this trip.
Plus,
We got a
plus, I
big
need
bird.
somebody to take the hooks out of my hand. I need somebody to take the hooks out of my hand.
There
Dude,
you
you
go.
might want to find a better person, though. 'Cause
Yeah, I
fucked
definitely
that
need a
up
better
the
person
first
than
time.
that.
So he put one through. Quick story. He put one through,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Dude, we're striper fishing. All I hear is and joking around. I'm like, what'd you hook yourself? And I hear again, and I'm like, oh my god, you actually did. So he's like, dude, you got to cut the barb out. And I'm like, okay. We punched the hook through, and dude, I could barely see. I got both my hands in there, his hands in there. I cut the hook and I go, all right, you're good. He goes to pull it out, and all I hear is, you son of a bitch, you didn't cut the bar.
He cut it just above the barb. Just above the barb. I'm like, you son of a bitch. I like a 10-pound striper attached to one end of the spook. The spook attached through my hand on the other end.
Yeah. Shaking.
Dude,
And
blood all
dude
over
cuts
the
off
boat.
just the tip. Dude cuts off just the tip of the hook.
Look,
Yeah, there's
you
blood
can
everywhere.
tell he does not listen to Bass and Brews, but he listens to old Jugs and Bugs because he cut off just the tip.
No doubt.
That's funny as shit, dude. Look,
Dude, I felt terrible.
It doesn't sound like it. You're laughing. Oh, this is funny. All right. Hey, where can we find you on the socials there, Brundle? Which ones are you pretty active on that you want folks to follow you?
You can check me out on TikTok at FishFreakDJB. Same with Instagram. 508 Outdoors is my YouTube channel. And then, just look up my beautiful face on Facebook.
Hey, good deal. Nate, anybody you want to shout out? Tell us where we can follow you, all that good stuff.
Fresh Baits, Dakota Lithium, Old Glory Outdoors, even though this is their last month.
What?
And
Okay.
yeah, Joe's closing. And Hooks at Hoodlums, obviously. And then I obviously want to thank Derek Brundle and coaching and putting together a great team like the Maulers and all the sponsor opportunities he's given to all of his teams through that with X-Zone, Rays, DeBomb, all of them. That's been huge for us too. So a huge thanks to him for that. And you can find me on Facebook with my name and check me out on Instagram at Shags29.
29?
Hey, Derek, don't you have a DeBomb anchor? The Derek Brundle DeBomb anchor?
I don't, but I mean, I could probably write my name on it.
I thought somebody had a anchor after them. I thought it was you. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Look, this is
Siddiqui, maybe Eric Siddiqui.
I can't remember. I don't know. I thought it was you. Might be Siddiqui, but it doesn't matter. You're here, not him. So,
and I'm better.
Thank y'all for you are. You're much taller. Much taller. He's a little shawty.
He is a little short guy.
he catches fish. So he catches fish.
He sure does.
Thank y'all for joining us for Bass and Brews podcast. If you've been here, we appreciate Nate setting this up and getting Brundle on. It was a good time. We had a great time. Check out Hooks at Hoodlums. Outside of that, we don't have no damn sponsors. We do this shit for free. So we put it out every week because we enjoy getting the feedback we get from the folks that listen. We thank y'all for listening. This is a great time. And I tell you what, look, y'all hold on in the background on the green room. We got about 30 seconds. Look, next week, we're going to have another podcast for you. Hey-oh!